medieval peasants didn't deserve, any time off. Of course, the recording starts as I said.
I just hit recording.
Fantastic. Leave it in. Leave it in. Leave it in.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, cold open right there. Oh my gosh.
This should have been grateful.
All right. Well, I'm DJ.
And I'm Andrew. Welcome to One Shots Tavern. Today we've got a couple guests with us. Justin from So You Want to Be a DM over on TikTok. Justin is also the co-host of the podcast, So You Want to Be DM, and has been a friend through social media for a bit, and pulled him into a game today with our guest, Kyle Ott. Kyle, could you give us a little intro to yourself and what you do over at Desks and Dorks?
Hi, I'm Kyle Ott, and I hate medieval peasants. No. My name's Kyle. I am the owner and designer for Desks and Dorks. We are a role-playing game company. We've just actually successfully launched, I should say, because we got funded like 3 days ago, I want to say, our fourth tabletop RPG. So traditionally what we do is we have two different lines of RPGs. We have one that's aimed at experienced role players, so people who are really interested and want to experiment with new ways to do storytelling or new ways for character creation. So we have those, and then we have another line of games. Mushuins falls into that second line. We'll talk a little bit about March of the Mushuins later. But March of the Mushuins falls into that second line, which is aimed at people who are brand new to role-playing, and they want something that is rules light, storytelling heavy, huge focus on character interaction, character growth, and player agency. All big words that just mean I like it when people get to tell good story.
It's going to be interesting because we hate those kind of games.
Yeah, right. I know. I've from everything you all have told me before the beginning of the podcast,
exactly.
That makes sense.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, we're really excited. I know I saw when your Kickstarter launched and stuff, and it was floating around. I'm like, those are some cute little mushroom penguins. What is that? It's awesome. And then, so DJ, talk about how you even found Kyle, you stalker.
Okay, so me and my wife decided we were going to go see a movie. And we just happened to stop by the comic book shop, game shop that was right next to the movie theater. And I walked inside and I was like, so I've been playing a lot of zines lately. You got any? And these guys, what was the name of the comic book shop?
It's RU Game over in Saline, Michigan.
They've got a huge selection. So if you're in the area, definitely check them out. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So we have After the Rain, which
I love it. I love that there's a bookshelf. I know, because my bookshelf is also like behind. Like you can see some of it in the background, but all my RPGs are also right behind me.
So we got After the Rain. Oh, can't really see with and then of course we got A Fear Within. I saw both of those. After the Rain really kind of caught me when the guys were talking about the whole thing of like the rain wiping away who you are in your memory and stuff. And I was like, that sounds super fun.
It's fascinating.
So yeah, I bought them. And Andrew and I were kind of going through our list of games that we would like to talk about on the podcast. And so I was just like, well, his name's pretty featured prominently, and it's a very unique name. So I just did the Facebook stalk.
Here's the thing about this podcast.
That's what I did.
DJ finds people, he builds
it.
connections and community, and then I just get to go along for the ride, and it's super fun.
So shot him a message, friend request, and that now we're here.
Well, and it's so fun. I'm like laughing because full disclosure. So Ben, who owns RU Game, and Ike and I got my start in the industry the same way that Ben and Ike did, which was we all worked as consultants and game demoers for a company called Yellow USA, which if you're familiar with the Board Game King of Tokyo, I was
going to say that sounds familiar, and I think it's nearby.
Yeah, I was going to say that used to be their bread and butter. And so I cold called the CEO of that, or the he was the CFO at the time. And he was like a huge French dude named Stefan. We love Stefan. He's great. And Stefan was just like, I don't have a job for you, dude, but I like your energy. So why don't you come to Philly with me for PAX Unplugged? And so that's where I met Ben. And that's basically how all of us got our start in the industry. But I'm dying because when I saw his store has been in the works for like 8 years. Literally, he's been, trying really hard to like get that done for like 8 years. but he had it next to the movie theater. He's like, gosh, I love it. He's like, people go see a movie and then they come in and they come to the game store. And he's like, it's surprising how I'm. So I'm just like, as soon as he's like, oh, was at the movies? I was like, I know exactly how the story is going to go.
Yeah.
I think 30-40%
Yeah.
of Ben's customer base are people that came for the popcorn and stayed for the board games. And it's like, I can't.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what I noticed too, was like it was people that I didn't typically expect to be walking around a game shop, and they were super interested in like games that we, often look at and we're like, oh, that looks really cool. Oh man, these games are great. I love these. People who aren't like typically in that tabletop board game community, and like they're coming in and they're walking out with like $100 game. And I'm just like, that is such an insane like transfer sale there.
Love that.
Well, and it's interesting. We talk about this a lot. Like, at least I talk about it a lot with a lot of the designers that I work with, or like the conventions I go to, or the places that I go. But like the community around games is crucial, right? And the community you build, whether like for me, it's like, what kind of community am I helping to foster when I make a game? What kind of community around a table do I create? But like Ben has done such a good job of being like, when I walked to that store, I was like, oh, dude. Yeah, it's clean. It's well lit. Your staff's friendly.
Doesn't smell like potato chips.
It doesn't. It doesn't smell like old grease trap. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give everybody who's listening, when this goes out, a little tip. If you go into a game store, you're in a great game store when you go into the bathroom and there are free feminine hygiene products.
Absolutely.
That is my barometer. If you go
I think
into
Justin
a game store,
just made a TikTok that was like, if you're not playing with women, what the fuck are you doing?
right? No, you're not wrong.
And I was like, exactly.
Or like if women or LGBTQ plus people do not feel comfortable at your table, like either you are doing something wrong or someone at your table is doing something wrong that you're not aware
and you're missing out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like, having grown up in a very like straight white male Christian household, that like that was not my experience growing up. Like, especially with gender and diversity and other people.
Yeah.
Like, the minute I got out of that bubble, I'm like, wow, there are interesting stories and perspectives that I do not have, and I would like to learn them. Yeah. And like, I grew up going to, they're debunked game shops, doesn't matter now, but like, you wonder why. And it's Fortress. Like, and it was just the worst place. Like, that was not the vibe. That was not the people that were there. It was a very specific type of person that was there, and that's it. And it was not even for me, right? And so I 100% agree. Like, if you're not looking for diverse perspectives in your games, at your tables, and in the communities that you're joining, like, man, you're missing out.
And that's why that's my barometer, because it's the easiest barometer to do. Right. But if so many places I've been to don't do it, and that's really like, and like, if there's like tampons and pads for free available in a game store's bathroom, you know that like what's on the surface, they're doing the other stuff, the other hard work, the deeper levels that need to happen. I don't know. And that's such a good point though.
No,
seriously.
Like, it's a low barrier of entry. Like, if you're an owner of a game shop, oh my gosh, like to be welcoming in that way.
It is. But this has never failed me once. Like, legit. And I've been doing this now for a while. Like, I've been working in the games industry since, like 2017, I want to say. So like 7 years. It's true. The ones that, like, if you go in, like, if they're either thriving now or were already on the come up, and the ones that didn't are either gone or are on the decline.
Right.
It's like the
and there was
miners.
Yeah, and there was like the great culling of 2020 that I think like nuked a million businesses for,
so many shops,
good and bad reasons, right? But like, I think that DJ and I were at a game shop that was brand new in like town I grew up in, and I was like, if this was here for me when I was a kid, like, what would that have been? Like, this would have been so like healing and like life-giving for me. And so like, man, hey, listener, go support your local game shop, especially if they have feminine hygiene products in the bathroom.
Please.
Please.
And if they don't, talk to them.
Right?
Because again, as a small business owner myself, there are a lot of times where sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I should have done that, and I didn't think about it. And sometimes it's not malicious. Sometimes it's just like,
no,
you're putting out a bajillion fires all the time.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's awesome.
Oh man, that's too.
Yeah. So, tell us about desks and dorks, and the publishing and everything. We saw that there's some podcast episodes, YouTube channel, perused around through that.
Well, excellent.
So,
You've done your due diligence then. Living up to your stalker reputation, DJ. No,
yes.
no, it's good. So I started. You were mentioning the big call of 2020. I started Desks and Dorks in 2020, basically at the height of the pandemic. With a friend of mine that I met from my local game store, awesome dude by the name of Riley Parks, and originally we started it as a podcast. But I had always had this idea in my brain of like, we should make this into a company of some kind, right? A board game company or a game something, right? And the biggest issue that I saw within our industry was that, you'll have companies release a Kickstarter. And it doesn't do well, or it doesn't do as well as it does because they're trying to find their community once they've released their product, which I thought was a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tried to do the reverse of that, which was let's build the community first, and then when we launch a game, we don't have to worry about building a community. We kind of already have everybody that we know and everyone that we need. And so that's really that's really the crux of how it happened. But I remember so After the Rain was the one that put us on the map, which is great because it's so funny because, DJ, you were saying that you were like, man, that sounds really good. I still get people that come up and are like, wow, what an interesting concept. This is so cool. Like, we've had.
So for our listeners, give us the 30-second pitch for After the Rain.
Oh, absolutely. So After the Rain is a cooperative storytelling game where you design a character using things called facets. These are important parts to you and to who your character is. This could be somebody that you love. It could be a cause that means quite a great deal to you. It could be something traumatic that happened to you in your past or your present. We have a facet. We use a D6 system. So the higher that value is, the more important that facet is. So, for example, if you have a Burning Vengeance at a 6, you're probably after the people that killed your family. If you have a Burning Vengeance at 2, you really don't like the bag person at Kroger's. They're just really not nice to you all the time, right? So the higher it is, the more important it is. But as the story progresses, you and your friends have to go out into the omnipresent rain. The problem is that the longer that you are in the rain, the more it wipes away certain facets of your character. So your stats actually drop as the game goes. If a stat ever hits 0, it is as if it has never existed. And then you are forced to deal with the consequences of that for your character.
So it's about forgetting, right?
It is. And if you all like one shots, I'm happy to come back on and actually run a full game of After the Rain, because that I can do in about 2.5 hours. 'Cause I love that system.
Please.
And sometimes it's very positive. Oh, sorry.
What's the umbrella economy in a world like that?
That is a. You were the first person to ask that question. Shockingly, in 3 years of release, you're the first person that's asked me that question.
Umbrella Corporation has arrived.
Welcome to Umbrella Corp. Oh my god.
There you go.
So the way that it works is, so it's up to your game master to explain the rain. I will always tell people who are interested in running it that it doesn't really matter where it comes from necessarily. It just matters that it's there and that its impact becomes either gradually known or your characters have some sort of inkling of it. So I have seen sessions of it where it takes place in the bayou, and they're not sure if the rain is like from the chemical runoff of years of Hurricane Katrina-esque disasters on chemical plants nearby, or if it's some part of like the folk magic that binds a couple people to that bayou. We're not sure. I have run a session of it where it took place on a floating space casino on the moons of Jupiter, and if you amazing. Google Jupiter, there are some of the moons in Jupiter that have a Mercury-style rain, a chemical rain.
Oh,
and I was like, how interesting would that be if that's the chemical runoff? I've had people do this where it is some sort of eldritch magic, some sort of wild west
I was thinking
curse.
almost like a purgatory, right? So like going into the next life or whatever, and almost like the rain is like washing away parts of yourself
cleansing
or whatever.
You. Oh.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of the cool part about it.
That's cool.
I've had some characters where the rain is a cleanse, and that's been the fun part where like so one of our characters had a psychosomatic limp brought on by World War I, and then lost the psychosomatic limp, and that character did a complete 180 I was like way more
Yeah.
confident and way stronger and had a more clear and concise purpose because so their facet was the psychosomatic limp, but then they had a cause. They were trying to protect the people of that city because that city
Yeah.
had taken them in after the war,
Yeah.
and they had sort of a found family, a mentor figure that was part of the group. And so as the psychosomatic limp ticked down, the other two facets essentially take over, which is really cool. I love doing it for people who are new to role playing because it really lets them
Yeah.
kind of focus on like what is important to their characters. But I'll never
Right.
forget my first playtest of that game. We had one of our characters. Her character was fantastic, but vengeance had been the big driving thing, and so you can lose. We mentioned you can lose your stats, but you can also have a stat automatically drop to 0 if you want to succeed on something. But you have to expose yourself to the rain to do it. That's
Yeah.
the caveat. Like you have
High
to go
risk,
out
high
into the
reward.
storm for something, right? Exactly. And so she was like, I'm gonna get this dude. This is the dude. So her last scene in that game was her character
This is the story that sold
was it?
sold me the game. Yeah, yeah.
It was the part where I was like, oh, okay, cool. I can make this game. But yeah, she killed the guy in game. And the last scene is her character standing over this dude's body with the smoking gun in the downpour, having no idea why she did it.
Whoa.
And I was like,
Chills. That's awesome.
Whoa.
great. I was like, great.
That's so cool.
I was like, absolutely, we could do it. So we did. So the reactions that you all had, going back to our earlier question, the reactions you all had, that's exactly how it got started. So I lied to everybody that I worked with on this game initially, because here's the game designers. If you really want to get an honest feel of people, don't tell them it's your game, because you want honest feedback. So I played this first with my
Yeah.
graphic designer, with Hannah Potts, who did the cover and who did all the internal design. And we played for like 4 hours. She was like, this was the best RPG I've ever played. And I was like, great, it's mine. Would you like to do the graphic design on it? And she goes, I hate you. I hate that you did that. And I tricked Riley into playing it with me. And so at the end of it, Riley's like, this was awesome. What
Yeah.
was this? Where
Yeah.
did you find this? And I was like, well, it's ours. Do you want to publish it with me? And he, so
Like,
because
now I'm compelled.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's different, right? Like once people have the game in their hands, once they've played it, once they see what it does, there really isn't a good substitute for a strong product, and that's kind of been what launched us, right? We're in, I think if I count all the stores that a distributor can get us through, I think we're in like close to 200 stores across the country, 300 stores across the country.
Wow.
We got to talk to you.
Yeah, that's impressive.
We don't know how to do that stuff yet.
It's taken a while. In full disclosure, like I'm not great at it yet either.
Yeah.
But I do. I listen. I just keep making the ask and having the conversation. And I
Yeah.
will say the vast majority of people that work in this space are all like us. They're all giant RPG nerds. So
Right.
I have some funnier stories about that. Maybe we'll get to that. Maybe we won't. But like I've run into like the buyer for like Indie Press Revolution at an event. I got nominated for an Emmy last year, and we're all being really loud and really rowdy. And I apologize to the lovely pair of people ahead of us. And I was like, I'm so sorry. We are so loud. I was like, all of us just got nominated for our first Emmy. I swear we're not rude. We're all really excited. And they were like, oh, dude, congrats. They're like, what's what's up? Who are you? I had no idea who this person was. And I'm like, oh, I'm Kyle. This is what I do. I worked on some other games, worked on After the Rain. And they go, you're the After the Rain dude? And he's like, what's up, man?
awesome.
I'm Nick. I'm the buyer for Indie Press Revolution. I'm the reason we stocked your game. I've read it cover to cover like 4 times. I was like, what?
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's awesome. But it's a small community, but it's good. But yeah, so we started with that. And that took off way more than any of us could have expected. And the success of that Kickstarter was like, all right, cool. Well, let's follow it up. Let's do other stuff. So we went to started going to small local conventions. We got really well received at those, and launched A Fear Within in December of like a year and a half, 2 years ago now, which feels weird. Right. And so basically at that point, Riley was like, man, some personal stuff was going on with him, and he had to step away from the company, which was unfortunate, but I mean, that is what it is. And I brought in a team of some other people. So if you like Fear Within, our artist Reggie Mata basically stepped in. She's the one that's taking over the artwork for You Have Always Lived in the Lighthouse. which is a 2-player RPG. It's an RPG aimed squarely at 2 players. So
That's fun.
I love that. And then she did Mushuins. So if you like the look of the Mushuins, that's all
Yeah.
Reggie.
I'm digging
For
it.
sure, that's awesome.
This little guy with the mustache, I'm a big fan.
Oh, Frank?
Yeah. This is Frank, probably.
Frank, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Reggie's idea.
It's not even for sure.
It's
right?
not. No. Reggie's Frank's not lying to you. Frank would never lie. Who's Frank? I don't know.
Probably.
What's a Mushwin? Who knows? I don't even know. Oh my gosh.
very good.
But yeah, so it's been. Yeah, I mean, we're celebrating 4 years now of essentially just doing this, which is really cool. And so 4 years, we have 5 games.
Congrats, man. That's so cool.
Thank you. It's been a weird road. It's been a really weird road, but it's been a really good road. Oh, and then becoming Banana Bread. Sorry, I missed a game. That's
Becoming Banana Bread.
I missed the game that probably sells more than every serious thing I've ever made. That's fine. At least in terms of volume.
So it
of sales.
goes.
That's all right. It's all good. Sometimes you never know what your bangers are going to be until you release them to people, and then you're like, darn it. But people are like, after the rain, nah, I could do this becoming Banana Bread 6 more times. I'm like, I can't.
That's so fun.
Awesome.
But I feel like I can always tell when a game is well designed in such a way, even just at the most core structure of it, not even getting too deep into mechanics or anything. You're describing After the Rain. I have no concept of it. This is the first time hearing of it.
Mm-hmm.
While we're talking, I'm thinking of 7 characters
Yep. I'm like,
to potentially play. I'm like, okay, how do I turn losing memory into a good thing? Or
yeah,
Or a bad
how
thing.
do we do this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
man.
That's a good segue to talk about like mechanics, right? The idea of mechanics versus storytelling. But I think the best systems are ones that really give you as much as they can with as little rules as they can. And that's really what I wanted to try to do. Because I used to get...
It's hard.
It is hard. Oh my God. It's brutal.
Oh my gosh.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
But like I used to get paid to DM, and that was the facet system is a vestige of me so sick and tired of people going, this is my 14-page backstory. And I was like, dude, your character's going to focus on 3 things, right?
Yeah.
Here's your 14-page warlock backstory. I know you've got daddy issues. That's one.
Yep.
That's facet number 1. You have crippling debt to your patron. That's facet number 2. And then we'll throw in facet number 3. I'm like, why are we futzing around with a 14-page packet?
Yeah.
Dog, I can sum your character up in a paragraph or less. Let's go. Come on, chop.
Well,
chop.
when
Everybody
I
has to go
sent
to.
you that 14 pages, the reason I just
Oh my god.
got ahead of myself.
I just got
I'm
on
sorry.
a roll. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
just
man.
needed to
Yeah, I've
vent.
had like, I think that like there's for sure those people, and like I love those people too.
Oh,
Right?
I do
like,
too.
they're amazing. They clearly
don't know
care
those
in a
people. What are you
way
talking
that
about?
like they're just so deeply invested. But when the mechanics support the people that aren't those people, especially, like that's some of my favorite stuff.
Yeah.
Or even just the concept of the game is enough to evoke something in somebody where they're like, I'm bought in on a level that I'm not normally. Like
Yeah.
there are some crunchier games that like support really granular play that's really awesome. But like a lot of the new stuff that's just more narrative centric, that's like a little bit freer, sometimes is like the ideal gateway game, which sounds like a big part of what your business model is.
Oh yeah.
Is the ideal gateway game to get somebody like actually bought in on this stuff. Because like I started playing, it's by Monty Cook Games, the No Thank You Evil,
Yeah.
which is their like kid
Yep.
version of Cypher System. I started playing it with my son, and like I did with his cousin, and I was talking to my other nieces about it yesterday, and it's just like they get it right away, right? Like that childhood
Right.
wonder of like as soon as they hear like, oh, wait, I can be in control of a story like with someone, and there's risk, and like maybe they have a reference of choose your own adventure or whatever, but like that's like why I freaking do it, right? Like there's so many ways to get people into this world that we love so much. And when the mechanics are simple but support that childlike wonder, like that's like why I like it.
And control of a story is a really good point, but like, and Justin, I know if you're running a teaching people how to DM channel, I know DJ, I'm sure you know this too, but like the more player agency that you give, the better it's going to be for everybody, right?
Mhm.
So like after the rain,
Yeah.
it's scenes. So that's how we always did that, was how you set scenes. Fear Within, there's a relationship that actually is an in-game mechanic between you and the partner you play with, and that relationship shapes the story. So it's a dice value that shifts and changes based on your actions. It's not a die roll. It's just like, oh, this is how I think this scene went for my partner and I. This is how I think my character feels. I'm going to drop the dice by 1 or 2. Or I'm going to raise the die value by 1 or 2. And that relationship drives the story. For Mushuins, it was... So these little characters are derpy. You can look at the art. You can go on the Kickstarter and realize that they are...
I thought it was like gritty Dark Souls realism. You know?
Dude, it's just one Mushuin just rolling around like a bigger monster. But like it doesn't have the leg muscles to do it long, so the monster's just like, what is happening? But for us, right, the idea with the Mushuins is they are really magical creatures to the point that they are like so saturated with magic. They are, on par with like the greatest arch wizards of the age. The problem is they don't have a single brain cell to share between any of them, and they have the memories of bricks. And so when I was making this, originally this was a really short storytelling game where you are all a bunch of Mushuins. You've completed the migration, and you all, because you're derpy and forgetful, you don't really remember all the details about how you got there. And so the game is essentially you interrupting each other and be like, oh, no, that's not what happened. We did this. That's not how we got here.
Oh, man, I'm excited.
So we turned
that's
forgetfulness
awesome.
into a game mechanic.
That's so fun.
So whenever you roll
Wow.
your stat in Mushuins, you essentially get a forgetfulness point, which is a meta currency your game master, or we call him a penguin wrangler, gets to use. And so you can spend that to rewrite reality because you have infinite magical ability, but no memory of how you got there. So they're like, oh no, we're friends. That's not a dragon.
That's
We're making
awesome.
waffles. We made waffles with them. And so now it's like, oh, the dragon's like just, shooting flames at a big waffle iron. There's a bunch of Mushuins eating waffles in a cave. Like, and that's because I was like, I want people to be able to rewrite the story whenever they need. It's cool.
That's so
Right.
fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and we aimed it at kids, and like I'm sure you guys know, the more engagement you get from players, the better. I'm sure all of you have a horror story of you're like, oh god, I feel like I went to this game and I don't feel like I did a thing.
Yeah.
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 Unfortunately.
I see the flashbacks.
Nothing like 4 hours of your life just disappearing.
Yeah.
Justin
Kind of
does
wish I had that
especially.
rain.
You're like,
Forget about
Oh
those.
my gosh. Right?
Justin, you looked up at the
Oh,
ceiling like
man.
you were like, oh man, this is the one. like you got taken back to a moment
Having
there, buddy.
flashbacks, full trauma.
That's like the end of
Yeah,
Blade
that
Runner
sounds
when
so
the-
man.
Oh, they're great.
I love the idea of forgetfulness. It reminds me of like that improv game of like the new choice thing when somebody says
Yeah,
they're like
yeah.
in the middle of an
Yep.
improv scene and they're like, oh, and then the baker gave us croissants and
New
someone, like,
choice.
clicks a button. New choice. Yes,
choice.
exactly.
That's
And they have to
exactly
come up
where
with
it
a new
comes
one.
from.
They gave him a penguin.
That's exactly.
Oh, okay.
That's legit exactly where it comes from.
There you
Or
That's awesome.
from the RPG
amazing.
equivalent of that, which was the Adventures of Baron Munchausen. I don't know if y'all have ever played that one or not.
No, I haven't.
I've
But-
not. It's one that's on my list.
It's fantastic, but it is literally, Justin, that you hit it on the head. It's the new choice thing. It's
Yeah.
Brilliant.
and so that's I don't know. I love these derpy little, and I wish I could claim total credit for them. We went to a convention, and I've been to the convention now 2 or 3 times. I'm friends with the people that organize it. They all know us. So we run Becoming Banana Bread at that convention, and it's kind of like a convention event now, because we were there for the first time we did it. So at the end of that game, everyone chants bread, bread, bread.
They
And
do.
the whole hall is just everyone's going bread, 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 bread. People from other booths are doing it. People 6 game tables over are chanting bread. And so people just like, they're like, the Desks and Dorks crew's here. Great. That would be a fun time. So this one volunteer, her 2 kids, maybe 8 and 6, I want to say. When she's just like, they're just like wandered over, like, can we hang out with you guys? And we're like, yeah, sure.
Heck
If you can
yeah.
help us sell banana bread copies and help us sell games, yeah, whatever. So it was a downtime. They wanted to meet Reggie, so they were like, they loved the art. Reggie pulled out it was this really wholesome moment of Reggie pulling out, a page of her sketch pad and letting the kids just kind of draw with her, which was
Yeah.
fantastic.
So cool.
And it's the kind of community that like I got into making RPGs for, and I got into making games
Right.
for. And so I sat down, I had a fun time hanging out with them, and I said, you know what? Each of you draw me something, and whatever you draw, I will make a game out of it. And they're like, really?
Heck
I'm like, yeah, dude, absolutely, run it back. So one kid drew a mushroom.
And here's your royalties check.
Yeah, and you own 15% of the company. But yeah, one kid drew a mushroom and one kid drew a penguin, and I was like, someone's like, what are we gonna do with that? And I was like, I know exactly what I'm gonna do with that. I was like, I'm making Mushuins, baby. They're like, you're doing what? I'm like, don't worry about it. That scene from Back to the Future, like, you're not ready for it, your kids will love it. Literally in this case.
So the name Mushuins just hit me.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's
DJ was
embarrassing.
first telling me about it, and I was like mushrooms that win?
Yeah.
Like what? Well, and then also, I mean, I don't know if this is any inspiration. I mean, obviously there's March of the Penguins, but because I'm a D&D nerd, I immediately went to March of the Modrons, and that's just a goofy adventure if you're familiar with it. So I was like, I hope that is somewhere in here in the inspiration.
It was March of the Penguins, definitely. March of the Modrons.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that, but
Oh man.
yeah, man. Yeah, but we came home and we literally were like, all right, we're gonna just do the whole thing. And Reggie and I literally stayed up till probably 3 a.m. that night
Just
working.
fever dream.
Yeah, I made the rules, and then Reggie did like 3 or 4 pieces of original art for it, and then we used our printer, the cardstock printer that I use for Fear Within. We used that to make 3-sheet packets. And we were like, all right, cool. New game drop, shadow game drop at this convention. And we like, but yeah, the kids came back and they got to play Mushuins with us, and their mom 3D printed little mushroom penguins for me. And there were 2. I kept one and I gave one to Reggie. I'm like, I'm not keeping both of these. You and I did this together. And so now we're back.
Awesome. Well, so I'm fascinated by this concept. I'd love to learn more about it. Let's maybe transition over to our more demo-y portion. So for our listeners, we don't have enough time today to do like this whole one shot, but we're going to get into some of the game mechanics. We're going to play the game a little bit, goof around. Apparently we're going to forget things or tell each other that we remembered things wrong. And yeah, I'm excited to jump into this game.
And I am happy to come back and run a full game of anything.
Yeah,
by the way, I know
please.
that and for those of you who are designers at home, if you ever get into it, just make sure that you give enough time for your games to breathe. That is an important piece of advice. If someone's like, I only got like 45 minutes, and you're like, I need an hour and a half. Don't just be like, come back later. It's okay. They'll come back later if they're interested. They always do. And they won't if they aren't. So,
yeah. I've ran playtests where it was like we just like breezed through it, and I was like, oh man, I should have given that more time. Yeah. And people were like, can we keep playing? And I'm like, I don't have enough time.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's like, darn it. I love playtesting too. Oh man,
yeah, it's the best.
It's so much fun. Okay, so for this, I'm assuming y'all want to actually make a character, right? So there are 2 game modes.
Yeah.
The original game mode that we made at that convention is being included in the rules of this new one for free. That is available. That is, you're essentially getting 2 game modes. That's like our gift to the community because we're like, y'all helped us make it. So that's in the book for freebies. But the actual full RPG part of it is right now. So, are we all ready? Do you have a piece of paper, a Google Doc pulled open, anything like that?
Yeah,
that's
I can do that.
Good.
Google Doc.
Fantastic. So there are 4 stats that you are going to need to worry about. 3 essentially for the purposes of your character creation. Those four things you need to worry about are your body. This is how strong your character is, and it also represents your hit points. Mushuins do not die when they fall to 0 hit points. Mushuins, as beings of essentially pure magic, fall into a deep hibernation. It is a state of suspended animation that the Mushuins call the Big Snooze. It is possible to wake up a Mushuin in the Big Snooze. However, it is very difficult.
Got it.
2,
Yeah.
magic. This is how much magical power your Mushuin wields. It's also the amount of magic they can withstand.
Oh, okay. Like offensive, defensive.
Yes.
Very
So
cool.
some Mushuin are very good conduits of magic. Others are not. That is okay.
right.
It's amazing.
We try not to hold it.
Yeah.
The third stat that is very important to the Mushwin is squawk, which is how much noise a Mushwin can make. You can think of this kind of as your charisma, but in Mushwin culture, being able to make big noise is seen as very important. And so, as such, other Mushwin are more likely to listen to you if you have a high squawk.
I like that. Man, I would thrive in that culture.
I'm glad. So there you go. We're good.
I got a high squawk score.
And then, of course, your last stat is forgetfulness, but this stat starts with a 0. This is just our way of making sure that you can track your meta currency of forgetfulness, which is the points that you spend. So the way that it works is you all have 10 points to spend among these stats, these 3 stats, however you wish to do so. A stat cannot go above a 6. A stat can be at 0. So you can choose to automatically fail in something. It can't buy. You can't possibly be.
You just immediately hit the big snooze.
You just like
Anything happens.
a stiff breeze. Your Mushwin collapses.
Fainting goat.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, a Lay's paper or Lay's bag of chips just blows through the breeze, and your Mushwin just crumbles instantly.
I went a good old 5-3-2 there. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah, what are you thinking, Justin? I'm trying to decide my array. I want to
Yeah,
spread it out a little.
I know. It's so interesting. I'm probably gonna go heavy into body
Okay.
and squawk and lighter magic. I'm curious
I'll
to see how
go-
that'll manifest.
I'm going 2, 6. What? 2? Just to really
that
lean
sounds
into
right.
magic and be terrible at everything else.
That's
Yeah,
perfect.
4,
Yeah, that's
2,
perfect.
4.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
just a. I'm sorry. I'm still just picturing the Mushwin with 0 body, just being like, funk.
It's a weeble, basically.
It's a weeple.
That's
the
awesome.
weeble wobble. He falls down. Doesn't get back up.
does not
This is a broken weeble.
Does this?
Oh my god.
The problem is that all of the Mushwins in all of our art have the kind of bowling pin body shape
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
weeple.
Oh my
They're
god.
just waddling along and just face plant instantly. You doing good, buddy?
Oh, there's that. That video,
Good.
the penguin video. You know the one where he just falls
Yeah.
into the ice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can already tell this is going to be our best clips episode.
Right. I need to cut in all of that.
Literally, I love it. You're not the first podcast that's told me that. They're like, every time
Yeah.
you're on, we just get like, they're like, why are our shorts doing? Oh, Kyle was on an episode. It's like,
Awesome.
which I guess is part of the
You're like, I'm
business.
kind of a viral big deal.
So, I mean, not to get too far away from the Mushwins that we're about to play, but that was kind of how I designed some of our games, where I was
Yeah.
like, if it's not clippable to send to people, like,
Yeah.
because not to say that you have to trick people to get interested in RPGs, but like sometimes you need a good hook. Like
Yeah.
Becoming Banana Bread was designed entirely to be clippable, right? You're building a dice Jenga tower because you're all bananas that want to be made into banana bread. You worship your GM. Like, you all chant bread because you're in a bread
Actually,
cult.
that just came out of my desire to be worshipped.
It is super funny. Every time I teach that game, I'm like, okay, who wants to be God? It's always like some 8-year-old
Amazing.
girl like me.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Deborah, you need to chill.
Alexis, what kind of God are you going to be? Oven. Fire.
I will cook you.
You're like, oh God.
Benevolent
Oh, God.
oven?
No. It's like,
Okay.
That's so funny.
I had one kid was like, I'm the God of all of the kitchen. And we're like, no, you have to pick a specific aspect. And he goes, I'm the God. I want all the kitchen. He's like,
Okay.
he's like on
Where's
his
your
way to Little League
parents
practice, and it's like all of a sudden I am a fire and brimstone deity.
I am the captain now.
Call
T-ball,
chef.
like tee me up for the creation of the universe.
Right?
If you take anything from this episode, it's that children are scary.
Yeah, that's very true.
Children are the best role players as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, all right. So, your Mushwin is also going to need a name.
Oh yeah.
Do yourselves a favor, make a name. The way that naming conventions work doesn't matter, because if your name sounds like a Mushwin to you, it probably is. Follow your heart, or in the Mushwin's case, follow the several hearts that you have. I don't know. I'm not an expert on Mushwin anatomy yet.
So don't mishear me. My Mushwin's name is Steve. There's no V. It's Steve without a V. It's Steve.
Very good.
I'm Steve.
Mine is Port O Bello.
I get it, because mushroom.
I hate it. I love that. That's fantastic. DJ, you're the go.
Wait, do you have a high squawk score though? Like, because you said Bello, right?
It's a 3. It's a 3.
Okay. Average.
He just sounds like Gilbert Godfrey.
What are you talking about? No, can't do it.
Oof.
Terrible impression.
I'm here to go to the stout.
Oh, that's right. There we go.
Oh.
Hey. I came up with Giuseppe.
Just
How do you spell that?
Ooh, ready?
Is it
Here's
G?
how I spelled it.
J?
Giuseppe. Giuseppe.
I believe that
like
is
it.
the traditional spelling.
I think so. I have a cousin
That's
named
pretty
Joey,
great.
and his mom, my aunt, always the Italian comes out, that's bad.
Yeah. You just see the penguin fin. Like, they're doing this, but, like, it's just a fin.
What all I can think about is
What do you mean?
What do you mean you burnt the moss pasta? Don't break it in
Mosta.
half. Put it in the bowl. Put it in the pot first, and then the rest of it'll sink in. You don't break the mosta.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh,
I'm so ready to be a
goodness.
penguin.
Gam Gam has a
We got
score of
to-
6.
A mutual friend, even he just got to play with them too. But Even Footing Games has a game called Babies and Broadswords that we got to play, and we were all toddlers in it, and it was like, it's the best. It's just like whenever like
fantastic.
everybody has to be something weird, like the classic idea of like everybody's playing as a goblin for this one shot, like
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. Oh, it's the best because everybody just gets weird.
It's
Yep.
why I love Dread so much and Fiasco so much. If you
Yeah.
played those RPGs, because like Fiasco, everyone's just a terrible person.
Yeah.
You all know you're terrible people. Which like if you if you don't like the people you're playing with, not a great experience all the time. But my God,
Yeah.
I can imagine.
if you do love the experience, because you're like, oh, half the table is gonna be dead by the end of this, most likely as consequences of our own actions. And Dread, everyone's just
Right.
like, I'm a horror movie protagonist. I'm going to die. Like, and they'll play differently. It's great.
That's awesome.
All right. So now that everyone has, just so I remember, it's Portobello.
Yeah, yeah.
Steve. Which I assume must be pronounced with that level of emphasis. And then Giuseppe. I want to do it with the figure. I'm trying to do it like it's a flipper.
It's also how you flip somebody off. Like,
The Mushwins. That is a rule, by the way. So the Mushwins, as forgetful as they are, they never forget their friends. So they're very
Oh.
nice. If you get flipped
Aw.
off by a Mushwin, you've done something. Just
they will never forget this horrible wrong you have done to their family.
they're like, you told me there was sandwich. There was no sandwich. Just heartbreak. Just picturing a bunch of, like, obviously we're a bunch of adults. But like, I'm just picturing a bunch of adults buying this for their kids and being like, all right, guys, let's do the Too Fast, Too Furious campaign in the Mushwin
Oh my
universe again.
gosh. Yeah. Heck yeah.
Help family.
That's a quick
I love that.
question there. Is this is generally for one shots, or like what's the breadth of a campaign you can build out with this?
So, the way that it works is you can do either. And that's really how
Okay.
we have been running all of our games. A campaign of Mushwins, unlike a campaign of other RPGs, is going to end at some point, though. You are not going to be playing the same Mushwin for 13 years. And just continuing to go on adventures.
Challenge accepted.
So you're like, my name is Sherlock Gnomes, and I am a Mushroom detective, and here are my stories. So the idea is that this entire adventure is set around the annual Mushwin migration to the Great Sunstone, and so this is the journey of you going from the place that your Mushwin flock lives and migrating to the Sunstone as the Mushwins do each year. So essentially, you can run a one-shot of this where it is one adventure, one time to get to the Sunstone. One migration, sure. Or you can run this as a series of one-shots, all of which are leading up to get you to the Sunstone. But the idea is that you have a clear end goal in mind. And that kind of goes to what we were trying to do with the target audience, right, for this game was like newer role players and people who were really younger and might need just a little bit more direction. Not too much, but just a little bit, right? If you have a known start point and a known end point, I think it makes the design process a little easier when you're playing a campaign. So that is why we did it. But the way that if we were going to play a traditional campaign of Mushwins, the way that it would work is that every session is scenes equal to the number of players that you have.
Okay.
So like if we were going to run a session of Mushwins today, it would probably be about 3 scenes. Or 4 if you want to give your Mushwin Wrangler a scene of their own. But traditionally it goes by the number of players. Then what we have done is we've broken down scenes into 3 different types to allow new game masters or returning game masters who might not be familiar with the system a little bit more ease of setup. So there are 3 types of scenes. You have a role-playing scene, which is obviously the Mushwins get into a little bit of role-playing. You have a combat scene, which is the Mushwins get into a little scuffle. And then for those people who really like puzzles and traps, we have a puzzle. So you have a puzzle encounter as well. We call them encounters, essentially. And the way that we would encourage new Mushwin Wranglers to run their games is to get a feel at the table and ask every person what kind of scene they would potentially like to run or what encounter they would like to see. So you could do that prior to session 0. That could be part of your session 0. Or like me, you just be like, I know I have some ideas because I want to see what you guys have and I'm going to throw some stuff at you. But that's traditionally how we would run it. And so session of it ends after you've done those encounters. So like for us, it'd be after 3 encounters, our session would end. And again, too, the other thing is some of you have kids, some of you have all of you have adult responsibilities. I was like, I want a game session that I can get into and get out of, like 2 to 3 hours max. Also, too, I'm trying to think of like our younger role players. Like God love them, but
it's hard.
Attention is not always a strong suit. And I
get like 45 minutes out of No Thank You Evil with my 5-year-old, and it's like, whereas like his like 8-year-old cousin she's like, I'm never stopping. Let's go all day.
Well, and that's why we do it like encounters, because then it almost feels like a different game. And if they don't like an encounter, the encounter will end at some point, and the next encounter will happen, and maybe that's gonna be something you do like, or it is a fresh experience. Now, granted,
good point.
That's why I worked. So full disclosure, I worked in a 4th grade classroom for 3.5 years, and I worked in education for I think 8-9 years total, essentially. Awesome. So you learn a lot working with kids about like what stuff that they like and like what you can do. But I was like, oh yeah, I'm designing this whole thing to be like, if you're playing a 2-hour long session and every encounter is, I don't know, 20-30 minutes, they'll be fine. They'll get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Do 2 encounters, take a quick break. Each encounter is a little different. It's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I worked at a swim school, and you'd have parents who would be like, can we double up or triple up lessons? And I'm like, you can pay that. If you want to pay that, we'll take your money. It is not going to work. It is not going to be as fruitful as you think. I promise.
Because like your brain gets saturated. Like at a certain point, you're like, I don't know what's going on anymore. My brain gets saturated. I'm an adult.
They're not going to retain it. Especially when it comes to swim lessons, especially.
Yep.
I don't know if you need to retain a ton of Mushwin knowledge, but
you do. It's very important.
It's vital.
Honestly,
survival.
I appreciate that.
You sink or swim, pretty much.
Honestly, Mushwin swim lessons would be an you know what? That's going to be an encounter today. We're doing it.
Yes.
Do Mushwin swim.
Mushwin swim lessons is happening. That is going to happen.
I need a floating score. Your floating score is inversely proportional to your body score.
So, actually, that's a really good way to talk about. That's a good segue. So, in any encounter, I, as the Mushwin Wrangler, might ask you to make a roll. If you roll exactly your stat, that is basically equivalent to a critical hit.
Ooh.
It is a success with complication. So it is always a success with complication if you roll your own stat, which means you, as the player, however, get to describe to me how you managed to make the situation a little bit worse for the rest of your Mushuin friends.
Awesome.
And again, everything's about player agency. So yeah, you get to succeed. Unfortunately for you, you succeed with complication, but you also get a forgetfulness point. Because that's how you get the forgetfulness points, is just by engaging with the system. Otherwise, it is if you equal the value of your stat, or you go above whatever the value I tell you. Or you meet the value I tell you or go above. So we're running on
meter beat.
Yeah, meter beat. We're running on Dungeons and Dragons rules there because it's a simple system and people get it. So
yeah,
right.
Incredible.
I can call for a roll at any time for any reason. However, here's the interesting thing. I might tell you why it's a certain roll. For example, like trying to hold the door might be a body roll. But at any point, any of you can spend a forgetfulness point to try to justify to me why you should be able to use any stat for any roll.
Cool. Love that.
And as long as you narrate why.
So really, so on
Amazing.
forgetfulness, like that's something we accrue,
Yes.
right? By successes.
Nope, it is something you accrue whenever you roll your stat for a roll. So give me an
Okay.
example. What is your body right now?
2.
2. Okay, so if you roll a 2, anytime I call for a body check, you get a forgetfulness point.
Oh, specifically the meat score,
Yes.
like the like hitting the score,
Yes.
you get it for forgetfulness. Okay.
Yep, that is what triggers automatic success with complication, and that's when you get a forgetfulness point.
Gotcha.
Also,
Otherwise, it's just if you beat the score, you succeed.
You got
but
it.
There's
That's
no
it.
complication.
correct.
Got
That's it.
Brilliant.
Cool.
Yep. We wanted to tie some of the game mechanics into it, which is why it's a forgetfulness point when you succeed with complication. Because
Mhm.
you might have forgotten something middle of the check.
Yeah.
For sure. And are we trying to
I
get
like-
above our number or below?
So let's say
Like if I have a 4 for body.
So let's say if I call for a body roll, I say, oh man, like I'm gonna need a body roll of, I guess like 10. Sorry, I should have so not 10. Sorry. Yes, you were trying to get up. You were trying to get above usually.
Okay.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Cool,
sorry,
cool.
I was like brain not. See,
No,
I'm
you're
mush.
good.
I'm mushwinning. That's what it is.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
And as Mushwin Wrangler, I am free to give you all forgetfulness points for free. I can
Okay.
just give them to you as I see fit. And in fact, I think I'm just going to give all of you 2 forgetfulness points right now.
What?
What?
For
What did
really
he
and for
say?
true?
What did it say? Steve.
Steve.
I see. I added a V. It's not. It's not in there.
Maybe your character started as Steve.
I
and
forgot
as
the
the game,
V.
As the game goes on,
Yes.
we just keep losing letters of your name.
The name is Portfellow. Portbell.
Just
Porbo.
Por-
Porb.
Porb. Porb.
I love that.
Porb is such a good name for a mushwood. Oh my god.
Oh man.
Porb.
Oh,
Porb, what
man.
are you doing? Eating rocks. Are they tasty? Oh really? Just like got a huge. He's like sucking on a boulder. Poor bud, we gotta get moving. Okay,
That's actually the name of my autobiography. Sucking on.
sucking on.
It's like Sisyphus, but it's like
It's like Sisyphus, but way less elegant.
This
Yeah.
jawbreaker never ends.
Erosion, the long way.
And see, Erosion the Long Way is the title of my autobiography.
oh, that was good.
when people say he's like a rock, they didn't specify it was immune to all its effects.
Oh my god.
How are you doing, Kyle? Just getting weathered by time, circumstance,
Yeah, it'll get you.
Rivers.
rivers, long flowing
Wind.
bodies of water.
Grand Canyon goals.
Right
He's just got it on his vision board. It's
there, you go. Yeah,
just a bunch
one
just
day, baby.
wakes up in bed. There's pictures of the Grand Canyon taped on their ceiling. They're just like, It's gonna be me one day.
That's so funny.
Oh goodness.
Oh my god.
All right, time to mush and win.
It is embarrassing how long it took me to understand that mushwin is just a combination of those two words. There's
A mushroom and yeah.
Listen, I can be excited for you. We got 80 subscribers this week on YouTube, which for us is like huge.
Dude, that's awesome.
That's great.
We're like,
Yes.
And like I and not to call that small because that's way more than us right now. But like I think that I'm trying to just enjoy every number, right? Like the reality of just like one person sat down for an hour and listened to this, dope, right? Like I had fun. Somebody got something out of it.
Yeah.
Right. It like same thing for like
Exactly.
the Kickstarter. It's like we hit, however many. I'm gonna ignore the number of the money, and I'm look at that backer number and see how many people are actually excited about this. Because like that's why I'm doing it. Like that's what's important.
It's what you need to do.
Oh, yeah.
Like as somebody who is still, like somebody called me a mid tier, and I was like, I'm mid tier now. I'm like, what?
Like I have been hearing people calling me mid a lot on
What?
the internet. So
I'm
think
like,
that's
I
what that
know
is.
that's unkind, but like I thought I was like we were at minnow tier. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we celebrated the fact that like we made it to 9 episodes, right? Cool. We've made it past what
are we at
71% of podcasts make it. We did that. That's a
Yeah.
milestone,
Yeah.
right?
Heck yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Monday will be 13, I think. Right. So
Yeah.
we're inching
Yep.
closer.
It's crazy.
Well-
Both of our podcasts are on like almost the exact same number. So when you guys come
Yeah.
out with 13, 2 days later we'll come out with 13, and it just
awesome.
it's such an
That's amazing.
interesting
Love it.
that's so nice
sync
though.
right there.
That's so wholesome.
Yeah.
I will say,
Started in the new year on a weekly schedule.
hey, that's
Same. Yeah, I think when it comes to podcasting, as well as like 90% of, probably more than that, social media stuff is just like consistency.
Yeah.
Even if you only post
Keep it
once a
going,
day, like
yeah.
that's fine. But like, just keep posting once a day.
Yeah.
I find to be like so helpful.
For sure.
yeah, it's a lot. I will say in keeping with the small victories before we hop back to the mush winning.
Yeah.
I had probably the biggest seal of approval ever at Ben's store. So obviously, like we talked about this in the beginning, but like 8 years in the making. So last summer I flew down to Michigan to spend some time with them and hang out and see the store and like hang out with my boys,
Yeah.
right? And I'm an ex Magic player, so of course they're running a draft. I was like, yeah, I'll play a draft. I'm like, whatever. The only good format left, and although that we'll see.
There we
That's a different episode. I'm gonna get on a.
I'm a recovering
Yeah, right.
Magic
Aren't we
player,
all?
so I try to avoid.
Yeah. Well, I played, I hung out, and wound up helping this kid out with his deck. He's like maybe 13, 14. But he's there with his 3 friends, or his 2 friends, so it's the 3 of them. They're all playing Magic, and like, oh, what are you here for? Like, you're not from Michigan. You're not around here. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I make RPGs. That's what I do. And they're like, what? So I was like, yeah, Ben's store has them. I'll show you. And so I showed them after the rain, and they got really excited. And then they kept like going away from me, like at different parts of the night, and like whispering to each other. And I was like, what are we talking? What is going on?
What are they
And, like,
doing?
Yeah, I'm like, why are these children whispering? So it turns out the 3 of them had pooled their money together to buy a copy of After the Rain. Because not a single one of them had the money to buy it on their own.
Yeah.
But what they were whispering about was one kid's like, I have this much left on this gift card. How much change do you have? How much money did your mom give you?
Man.
Wait, if we don't get the snacks, we can. And like, I've been that kid at the game store, like with my
Yeah,
brother and
absolutely.
my friend, and the 3 of us are like, yo, if we don't do X, we can cobble together enough change to buy this one thing that we have to share between the 3 of us, but we can get it. And that is because that's probably all their game money for the month, right? Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
You talk about people voting with action or like the little things that you
Yeah.
celebrate. Like for me to watch where I was at 13 and 12, buy my game in the same way that I would buy things that I really wanted.
That's
I was like,
so cool.
bro, I don't even need the any anymore. It's like,
That's
like-
so
yeah,
rad.
it was to this day, it is the highest professional honor I have been paid as a game designer. Was
awesome.
those 3 kids
That's so
sitting there literally counting their quarters out in secret because that's why they did it, because they didn't want me to know. They wanted me to sign it at the end of the night. And I was like,
Oh,
I
man.
can't. I was like, if anyone's, I was like, I'm hosed. I'm like, that's it.
That's awesome.
Those kids have gotten every PDF of everything we've ever made. And I was like, I remember what it was like to be broken again. I was like, oh, don't worry.
Yep.
I will hook y'all up. Enjoy some RPGs. So yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
little things, man. That's
amazing.
it's the important stuff.
Yep. For real.
All right. So are we readied? Are we mushed? Are we
I
wind?
think we're ready.
Are we?
I don't know if we're gonna win, but I'm mushing.
That's okay. Losing is an important part of the mushroom experience. Or as
It's okay. You can forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. I forget.
I've never. Steve has never lost a single time in his entire life, except for that V, probably, but he doesn't know about
He
that.
doesn't remember the V. All I can think about is like, Steve's like, I have 100% win rate. Steve, you haven't fought anybody before. I have 100% win rate.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so again, in a traditional game of this, we'd be running a couple encounters. I'm probably going to get us through maybe one, maybe two, as best as we can. Are we okay if we start with a role-playing encounter?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So, every encounter, usually if your Mushroom Wrangler likes you, they'll give you a goal. I'm sorry, my desk chair is creaking. I'm gonna pretend it's ambiance. We'll just call it that. So essentially, every encounter has a goal, something the Mushrooms want to accomplish. We do this because A, it helps keep players focused, and also it gives you a little bit more gravitas for the scene. You're like, why am I here? Oh, this is our overarching goal for this encounter. We are going to say that it is right after this little Mushwin flock has left their nesting grounds on the way to the Sunstone. You find yourself in what is lovingly known by the Mushrooms as the Citadel, which is a fortress of gingerbread. So because the Sunstone is a magical artifact of incredible power, it permeates everything. And so this is actually where the kingdom used to dump a lot of their food waste, particularly from their bakeries. And over time, that magic and that food has sort of congealed together to make a fortress of sentient gingerbread men and sentient baked goods in general. This is the first stop on your journey to the Sunstone. And as such, your goal for this encounter is to find some form of transportation that can help you get through some of the deeper, more treacherous waters of the Undercavern. And that's going to be where we start. You're welcome to do any voices that you would like. I will probably do a couple voices too. I'm just going to explain a couple cool points of interest. The way that this works is, again, we play really fast and loose with location and time, like the last season of Game of Thrones. And thank you, DJ. Thanks, DJ. And so I'm just going to give you a couple points of interest. You are welcome to go there, interact with some of the characters. Again, your goal is to find some form of safe transportation. So in the Citadel, there's a couple different things that you can find. There is the Great Market. This is essentially a place where not just the sentient pastries, but everyone else can go to basically hawk their wares. Monsters and individuals from all over the Undercaverns will come to this spot. So that's the Great Market. You can go to the Gingerbread Guardhouse. This is usually where some of the more larger, thicker cookies take up their time in protection of the Citadel. It's just a strange name.
You made it.
I did. I did make it. You're not wrong. Listen, sometimes
you, man.
Sometimes you make something and you're like, why? Why did I do that?
Why did I do this
Why
to
did
myself?
Why did I do
Those
this?
are the best things when you're like, this is so stupid in a good way.
Yeah.
I love that.
Lean into it.
Explaining to people,
Lean into it.
You're like,
here's
what?
what I did, and it's stupid, but good.
It's stupid, but hear me out, guys. And then last but certainly not least, there is the Craftsman District. This is where a lot of the more artistic members of this district will meet to use their magical fondant to help create, again, sturdy dessert crafts.
Giuseppe, Portobello. We are in need of transportation. I am curious if we could procure it the best over in the Craftsman District. Maybe some sort of vehicular transport.
Yeah, I think that's a
Oh,
good idea.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, go get some
Um,
crafts. They got the fondant over there.
I'm looking for something more colorful and boisterous, you know?
Oh yeah, like a raspberry flavor.
Oh, delicious. I love it.
As you all make your way over
Okay.
to the Craftsman District, as you waddle your way to the Craftsman District, you've. This is the travel animation. As you all waddle your way over to the Craftsman District, you find yourself awash both in the smell of fantastic baked goods and also sort of caught up in the noise and the bustle. There is a giant cream puff that's kind of like hopping along. You're not sure how it's holding a hammer, but it is, and it's sort of hammering these like nails into what appear to be like large graham cracker planks. There are several donuts who are, rather than lifting up a heavy package, they are formed wheels and are rolling the package along.
It's very efficient.
But yeah, essentially the entire place is just awash with the sound, noise, and spectacle of people hard at work, or I guess desserts hard at work. Getting their just desserts. Thank you so much. All right.
Indeed.
Is there some points of interest? We talked about the large cream puff. There's the donuts, of course, that are doing stuff. There is a group of gingerbread cookies, all of whom appear to be missing some sort of limb. They're sort of like working on. Looks like they're working on something as well. But you're welcome to go to. And
Looks like they ginger snapped.
I love that. Like the voices of this are just.
Yes.
Like DJ's like,
if we look over here.
Portobello's been smoking I've been smoking mushroom cigarettes for years. And then we've got the Italian version of Morty. It's-
Hey, what are you talking about, man?
and Steve just sounds like the heavy from Team Fortress. That's just great.
Get over here, man. What are we doing?
I'm really cute, but also
I got stuff to do, man.
What do you want, Mr. Mushroom? I'd like belly rubs and a cigarette, please.
Look, those wheel donuts. I think that we could utilize them. They might join us on our traversal, you know, as a form of transportation.
Yeah, I mean they got all the makings of a wheel. They're circular. They leave behind a great trail of powder, some sort of white substance. I like that. Lets people know where we came from.
If we
Also helps us to find a way back home, which is great.
Oh
really.
yeah, I tend to. Well, I've never forgotten anything before, but I might.
I forgot that you forget so little. Remember?
You know, 100% win rate, man. I'm locked in. I ain't never missed.
We wanna ask. We can.
Oh yeah, this is not a non-consensual donut wheel kind of situation. They gotta be on
the
board.
donuts. The sentient donut. We can get you in kidnapping of sentient dessert.
Hey, donut man, or
Mr. Bismarck.
anyone? Yeah, what's your name there, Wheelie Boy?
Hi.
Long down.
I'm Wheeler.
Oh, wonderful. That makes sense. I like
This
the
is-
name and the
this
role
is-
that you
this
play,
is
if you know what I'm
Wheelette.
saying.
You realize that at this point, the only differentiating factor for them so far has been their sprinkles, which look like they have been formed in the way of eyes. Wheeler has blue sprinkles, and a little circle. Wheelette has pink sprinkles. Hi, I'm
Gendered colors.
I'm Wheelette. This is Wheelie. Wheelie. Wheelie has green sprinkles. And this one over here, that's Boris.
Of course.
Wheeler, Wheelette,
Wheelie.
Wheelie,
And Boris.
And
Boris.
Well, Boris.
Boris
You,
has no sprinkles.
Look,
You wanna-
respectfully, we need at least, we're looking for at least maybe 3 of you, you know, because of how distribution shakes out. But we're looking for some new, I don't know, I'd hate to use such a horrible term as like employees, but maybe a partnership for our adventure that we're going on.
That's
here.
okay. Employees is fine. We all suffer under capitalist systems. Even us.
You know, it's just an unfortunate reality that we're in.
You'd think
Yeah,
we
we're hoping that you could be a part of the means of production.
Yeah. Quite literally, we're looking to produce transportation. And it would be in your hands or your circular frame, if you will.
Can everybody give me a squawk roll, please?
Absolutely. So how many dice do I roll? For
Just
this?
one. Just the
Okay.
one.
I got exactly my squawk score.
I got a 4, so I did not. I went over. Fine.
So if you've gotten over your squawk score, that is a hit. If you got exactly your squawk score, which it sounds like DJ you did you add a forgetfulness point to your character?
So now I have 3.
You now have
instead of
3.
The
So
2 that we
yes,
started
it
off
is an
with?
automatic
Fantastic.
success plus complication. So because of that, what are you hoping to gain from this success? We're gonna start with DJ first, and then Andrew, we'll go to you next.
So we'd really like if you could just kind of like, go with us. We'll roll out to the Sunstone. We'll roll back. It'll be great. Be wonderful. Of course, we'll pay you, I think. As for the complication,
Yes. How do you want some? Would you like some help? How do you think how do you think Portobello would mess this up for his associates?
but we can only afford 3 of you.
We're kind of a baggage deal. Oh, you realize this is Wheelette talking. It's really hard to differentiate between the 3 of them. You're realizing even if you're not a Mushwin, this is very difficult. They all sound the same, and they all have the same chocolate icing, and rainbow sprinkles, save for their rainbow sprinkle eyes. We'd have to talk it out amongst ourselves. I don't know how that's gonna work. What do you think about that, Boris? That's well thought, Boris. What would you, Andrew? What was
He's an articulate fellow.
what would Steve like to add? I love that we could only afford.
Look, I'm interested in developing new means of travel. You know, these donuts are really going places. I'm just really invested in not only our form of travel, but we also are interested in building a community. You know.
So I think my spin would be more just like bent towards like, look, do you guys need not just like something to do, but like you want to go on an adventure? I'm selling it more as that.
I love it. All right. Well, it depends on the kind of craft you guys want. We could build a graham cracker raft pretty quick. That's not a bad idea. But you guys are going to the Sunstone, I assume.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, I would probably need maybe a bigger craft of some kind. We need some materials for it. Tell you what, I like this idea of community, and Boris doesn't really want to get left behind.
Look, I don't want to leave him behind, but I'm saying we need at least 3, and we don't got a lot of funds to work
So,
with.
let's do this. Nearby the city, there's a grove of especially turgid mushroom plant. You could go and gather that for us. It's a little dangerous. We'd be happy to throw in the 4th donut for free.
Oh.
Like a baker's special.
That's pretty good
Like
deal
gold.
right there. So would you guys serve at? Would your body and face be the wheels?
So, yeah, that would be kind of how it would work.
All
Well,
right.
except for Boris. Boris is the steering wheel.
Oh, I like that.
That tracks.
We got a tricycle situation.
Yeah. The
Right.
rest of us are
Very
used to it, but Boris is the only one of us that has the aptitude to be a steering wheel donut.
We're gonna need to look to getting a pretzel for the drive shaft.
Oh, that can be arranged, but the pretzels are a little bit pricier.
All right, okay. Well, you don't have to glaze me up. We can get on the road and go check out that forest all the way.
If you'd like, you could borrow this raft. It should help get you there. It is a truly beat up, like Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald-esque looking
Oh, wow.
raft of what appears to be like slightly soggy pretzel twists that have been bound
Oh.
together with licorice.
You know, he said it was beat up, but I didn't think he meant literally. It's got like some reddish pretzels in here. They use the beets to make the red, coloring.
They use music?
Yeah. They
Oh,
use
okay.
music. Yeah.
I
You know,
like
the
a
story
good
goes
beat.
down from the
Justin add
pretzel
a
tribe.
forgetfulness point. Justin, add a forgetfulness point. All right, really quick before we move on to the next encounter, just a recap of some of the things that you can do with these forgetfulness points, because I'm giving them fast and loose to you all because I mean this is gonna be fun. I consider all of this a playtest, and so
Yeah.
I1 lets you change which die roll you are going to I require, as long as you can justify that.
Okay.
So for example, if
Yeah.
I call for body,
Right.
you could be like, actually, instead of body slamming them, I'm going to hurt them with words. That's
Yep.
and spend a forgetfulness point.
Totally.
You could do that.
Yeah.
2 forgetfulness points lets you add something to the game world that was not there before, so long as it makes sense to the game world
It's
itself.
kind of like a yes and kind
Yes,
of moment.
it's
Yeah.
exactly what it's.
Like
that is exactly what it is. You can add something to the game world as long as it makes sense within the space of that game world.
Look, I've got an AK-47.
Yeah. A 3 lets you or anybody else re-roll a stat. And not only is it a reroll, but it's a reroll and it is using a stat of their choice.
Okay, cool.
So it's sort of like setting it up for somebody and helping them out a little bit more. 4 forgetfulness points lets you add something to the game world that does not make sense. So if you do want to add your Mushuin AK-47 for an encounter,
Wonderful.
that's exactly what you could do. And then the last thing that you can do is my favorite one, which is for 5 forgetfulness points. It's called That's Not How It Happened. And you are allowed to rewrite an event that occurs. You can rewrite it as it is occurring. You can rewrite it as essentially a Deus Ex Machina moment that the Mushuins are able to tap into. So like,
Could you do one more quick breeze through the
absolutely, and tell you what, I will even put them in the chat for you all.
glory?
So
Love
that
that.
Yeah.
is actually
Amazing.
going to be probably the best way to do it. So we're just
There's like a little chat button in the bottom right of the
Mushuin friends.
stage. There we
All
go.
right, let's do
Oh.
that.
Mushwin friends.
Mushwin friends. Gummy bears.
Come on down to Mushwin land.
Let's just add that real
Legally distinct song.
legally
right.
distinct song. All right, so on a 1, it is change a die roll, and I'm only doing this again for our audio only listeners at home in case you can. 2, add something to the game world. 3, it's a reroll with a stat of your choice. On a 4, you can add something that doesn't make sense. And on a 5, that's not how it happened.
It's basically like DM, give me the reins
Yes.
for a second.
For literally like
love
15
it.
seconds.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's one of my favorite things to do. I love this. And so when we were designing Mushuins initially, one of the things that we were working on was things called playbooks. And so every Mushuin was going to have a class. And so essentially each class let you sort of spend forgetfulness points in a different way and do that. I'm not sure that's going to be in the final copy anymore because one of the things that people didn't like was they felt like they were pigeonholed or Mushuin hold, I guess, in this instance. So what we might be doing is I might just be taking the things from each playbook that I really liked, and every time a Mushuin quote unquote levels up. So if you were playing this in a campaign setting, you'd be able to pick one of those special talents from one of those playbooks. It's just going to be a big menu of those, and so certain Mushuins will be able to do different stuff with their forgetfulness points and add certain things to scenes because of those. We're not playing with those right now because that's still a little work in progress. But it was good playtest feedback. People were like, I really want to do a little more. So this is what I call
That's kind of how
Oh, go
That's
for it.
kind of how I'm handling it in so my game Battle School. It's like kind of pseudo Ender's Game inspired, but I was working on the classes. And similar to like Cypher in a way, I have like suggested skills and suggested abilities to help somebody understand the theming, but it's suggested, right? It's like you
Right.
can, when you do an advancement, you can pick whatever you want, right? Like this is just if you want to fit into a trope, you know?
Right. And that's the thing that we wanted. We were like more freedom, more agency,
Yeah,
more autonomy,
totally.
both in real life and in RPGs. Sadly, I
Alright.
I can't get the real life thing for everybody. Sorry, guys.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, seriously.
I try. I try. I make funny RPGs. That's my talent.
That's the best I got, guys.
Well, I got her. Send you donuts.
So I have a
That's more
question
than a lot
real
of us.
quick
Yes.
regarding like stat rolls and stuff like that. So we started with those 10 points. We assigned them to the 3 different stats.
Yep.
So then I have a 4 in body and a 4 in squawk. So when we rolled that squawk roll, I know you didn't like out loud say, here's the number you're trying to get above or anything
and
like
actually,
that.
that's a great segue, Justin, because I should have clarified this a little bit more. As the Penguin Wrangler, I am allowed to call for over a stat or under a stat.
Okay.
That is important.
Okay, cool.
So in that case, it was over a stat. So your stat or over.
Okay.
That was my bad. Sorry.
No
So
worries. Yeah.
what I'm trying to figure on the mechanical side too is having a lower score is easier to succeed.
Unless I call for lower
But
than
does
a stat.
that mean it's a okay?
So if
okay.
I say squawk but it's lower and you have a 2, good luck.
Okay. I'm starting to feel it. Yep. I'm seeing where we're
Got
going
it.
with this. Yep.
Yeah, and that's
Okay,
another
cool.
one of that. And again, full disclosure, that's another one of the features we're still kind of playing around with a little bit.
Yeah.
Because simplicity was really great. Like people got it immediately, but some people are like we just like it's almost too simple for some of our players. Some are like I
Sure.
want just a little bit more
A little more grit.
mechanical bite to this system,
Yeah.
right? So again, everyone watching this at home, I hope you're enjoying it. Thanks for watching. You should go subscribe to their podcast. Go download it. Go listen to it on Podbean.
Oh yeah.
But this is still very much a playtest build.
Didn't work.
And so,
Yeah.
for sure.
which is kind of how it goes. So,
Yep.
luckily,
Yeah, that
90% of the
clarifies
game's
it
fleshed
big
out.
time.
It's just the 10% that I'm still working on. But in any case, are we prepared to journey into the woods and potentially do a combat encounter?
Absolutely.
I'm
So
ready.
ready.
These donut people, they said
here we go.
turgid plants. What is turgid?
I don't know
Steve?
what that means. Oh, I
You remember?
turgid. I know these things. It's true. I am.
I feel like I would like. I'm very magical, so I guess it's a question of how much can I request of the DM in the story. Like, can I manifest in my magic a really like perfect definition? AKA, could I Google the definition
You know what?
of it within myself?
What is your magic stat?
6.
Oh, yeah, let's do magic stat lower, and we'll do that.
Wait, but it's a 6.
No, you heard
so That's
me.
what I'm trying to say.
You heard
Okay.
me. If it's lower than 6, you get it.
5.
Yeah, there you go.
okay. So turgid. You see, as I Google it to be sure.
I imagine that there's
yeah.
like a
Just
thought bubble
give it
that
a
pops
big-
up, and it's like the dictionary definition in the
you
thought
see.
bubble.
I'm rubbing my.
It's just-
I'm
it's
just like
in
rubbing
reality,
my
you're just
fins
looking at it
together.
all.
Yeah, I'm just like really getting into it, trying to be like as intelligent as possible because the reality is I have no idea, but I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna workshop it until the words fit. And you see, turgid means gross, either swollen or overblown.
Okay.
It could be like I don't know what this word means. Tumid. You could describe a water balloon or myself as turgid.
Oh. All
You
right.
know,
That helps.
it's in my vernacular. You
Just-
know what vernacular means? I don't mean this in a talking down to you way. I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Nah, I'm not sure if I know vernacular. It's not part of my diction, but potentially.
Whoa, keep that thing away from me.
Okay.
Oh wow, those trees are turgid.
Yeah, as you are. It's freaking gay. I'm just picturing like you're on this raft and the thought bubble is literally apparent to all of you. And you're like looking at it. Steve's reading off of his own thought bubble like you're reading off a PowerPoint.
Right? Oh, weird.
Just
Swollen, disgusting.
Swollen or distended.
Oh, my
Wow,
gosh.
thanks, T. I could have done that without you. And the thought bubble just disappears. The words just fall into the water. You know what? That's it. That's canon now. The word
Yeah.
Like
literally,
Winnie the Pooh.
the thought bubble dissipates. All the
Oh,
type
no.
like falls off, plinks off the
I
raft.
didn't expect to be littering, but I'll do my best next time.
It's, as we all know, mushroom thoughts are biodegradable.
That's fair.
Y'all, this is great. Oh, I'm so happy I get to play this with you guys. This is fantastic. All right, so as you are progressing into the forest, you actually do get to see very swollen, distended looking, almost like a moss and a mushroom, sort of crossed together. Thankfully, not a mushwin. You're all very grateful.
No.
You're all very grateful for that. But there are these. But it's clear that this is where the members of the Citadel get a lot of their building material. You can see that these trees are so massive and so swollen that parts of them have been carved out, and the rest of the mushwin tree is still growing. That is how vast some of them are. Think like redwoods in terms of size.
Yeah.
Just far more disgusting and looking.
very turgid.
Very turgid.
That sound really cleared it up for me.
Yeah.
I'm glad, Giuseppe. I'm glad. So as you are all sort of paddling forward, you see exactly kind of what they're talking about. You hear something slip into the water, and at this point, you become very apparent that you are now dealing with something in the kelp beneath. Sort of kelp tendrils start to rise up from underneath your makeshift craft, and now we are in a combat encounter. So,
Oh no.
the way that this works, the Mushuins always act first, because they are the heroes, and also in their little Mushuin brains, hero go first.
Yeah, I'm a fun guy. Why would I not go first?
I'm a fun guy. I don't take up mushroom. So sorry, everyone. This is all. It's all going to be dad jokes from here on out. It is up to you all to decide how you want to order the Mushuin part of the turn. So, for example, if like DJ wants to go first, if Portobello wants to go first, and then Giuseppe, and then Steve, it's up to you all to order it. But once you order it, that is that order for the encounter.
Oh, I just realized I should have named myself Portoberto.
Listen, you could spend forgetfulness point. I'll let you change your name mid-combat.
I'm spending a forgetfulness
Yes.
point. My name is now Portoberto.
Fantastic. You forgot your own name.
It's always been
It's always been
Porto
Porto Alberto. That is.
Yeah. So there's this kelp stuff coming up, essentially like trying to latch onto our
Yeah,
raft.
it looks like tentacles almost. And so if anyone wants to essentially.
My maximum is 9 tickles. I can't do 10.
Otherwise,
I was there when he got 10 tickles. It was terrible.
Not into it.
I need to
We
come
had
back
to
and
end
play
this
after the
Wars
rain with you guys.
everywhere. Extremely embarrassing.
I need to come back and play after the rain with y'all. I do. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I will move heaven and earth to do it at this point.
You're more than welcome to. We very much would love it.
Yes. All right.
All right.
All I heard was I was there for 10 tickles. I can't. Oh.
Portoberto I'd like to bite the tentacle. just hop
Bold
down on my
move.
belly and
Just like beak first.
Just Portoberto, what is your body score?
5.
5. Fantastic. We are going to go lower again on this one. I think that is
Lower than 5.
lower than a 5. You got it, my friend.
I got a 4.
That is lower than a 5. Can you describe to us, your assembled companions, how Portoberto literally Michael Phelps belly flop dive bombs this?
Yeah. Just kind of like, it's more of like Portoberto is standing there on the side of the raft, and just kind of like falls face first, with just my beak into the water, and I say, "You heard the man. Only 9 tickles," and and take a big ol' chomp, with what I like to imagine is a very like type noise as soon as it's bit.
It's like every time Penguin, the Batman villain, appeared in like the Scooby-Doo episodes from like the late 70s. It's like that noise. Yes, in fact, you, Portoberto, are now face to face with what you know in your little Mushwin brain is a kelp kraken. It opens up its massive glowing eye, snaps its beak at you. None of those things, however, dissuade you from going and ripping off one of its tentacles. So now it truly has 9 tentacles.
Kelp, I need somebody. Kelp.
Get a forgetfulness point. Put it back.
If I may go next here, Justin.
I just kind of like to start manifesting some telekinetic energies, and I say, Portoberto, may I use you as a bludgeoning tool?
What? Oh, yes.
Glorious.
And then I would like to try and pick him up and just kind of repeat his attack, but just with my mind.
I'm going to require a magic roll for
you up
that,
and
but
smack you down.
absolutely
Yeah.
yes. By the way, do me a favor, DJ, if you have not already, add a forgetfulness point to you, because the kelp I need somebody thing was just way too good. Seaweed, I see plenty of it everywhere. Yes, absolutely.
All right.
What is your
And
what
I'm
is
rolling-
your magic score?
I'm
state?
6 for magic.
You are a
yeah.
6 for magic. That is a really difficult one. I am gonna say it must be a 6 or higher. So I hope you're hoping at a 6.
Oh, okay. So I just need a 6.
Now again,
Otherwise,
remember
I'm
you can choose to.
fumbling my friend.
Now remember you can choose to use forgetfulness points in any way,
Oh.
shape, or form to help modify this. So if you're like, because I've already called for I've already called for a higher roll. So if you're like, what is my lowest stat? I can change that with this forgetfulness point.
Oh, so your part of higher or lower gets locked in, and then That's interesting.
Yes, because
Okay.
So you can flip them.
as a
Okay.
Mushwin, you are able
that's
to
already locked
rewrite
in.
reality with the magic and the forgetfulness. So I am telling you, this is a lower roll. You,
Okay.
for 1 forgetfulness point, can choose to make it a lower roll of any of your available stats. Maybe you're
I'm
maybe
just
you.
thinking of thematically what I would do instead.
Oh, I'm
yeah,
so
if
excited!
was
I love it. I
instead-
see the steam. I see the steam
All right.
coming out. This is
So
a good.
I'm gonna use forgetfulness to change the die roll.
Love it.
And as I'm like manifesting telekinetic energy, I'm like, you know what? Do it yourself. Get him again. And I'm gonna use Squawk
Yes.
to motivate him to bonk again.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely
So I got to roll higher than a 2.
higher than a 2.
5.
That is higher than a 2.
It is.
What fantastic words do you share with Portoberto to make them essentially redo their entire turn from like the start to finish?
Let's see. I think I'm just gonna like inspire him with pure comedy. You know, just like he needs to feel good about himself. I know him well enough. He needs to feel good to perform well. So yeah, just
a type
I have
5.
some things prepared over here. Let's see. I wrote down. Yeah.
Some observational comment.
Comes out with props.
Did you ever notice?
You ever think about a fact?
What's the deal with airline food?
Look, you can be a good sport and, get back up and smack back down, and you can mush him into the ground. In this case, the bottom of the water. You got this, buddy.
Just stands back up, falls back down.
What was that? What was that noise again? What was that noise again? And yeah, you snap off another.
Captivating.
Now you snap off another tentacle. This thing is down to 8 tickles now. Giuseppe,
Much more within my reasonable amount of tickle.
A lot earlier to eat the calamari, the normal.
Oh yeah, I love a good
Kelpamari.
plate of calamars. I'm gonna take some of the licorice, keeping the raft together. I'm gonna take some of that off, and I'm gonna jump in the water and try and tie a group of tentacles together, so that maybe it'll be one easy hit.
I love it. I'm gonna give you a forgetfulness point for this check, because you have forgotten that holds the raft together apparently. So there is going to be a complication associated with this check, because you have decided in such
regrets.
a manner to destroy your own craft, which I absolutely love. I don't know how you're going to get this turgid mushwood
We
back.
got this.
We're
Turgid beings of pure magical might. We got
That's true. You got it. I will squawk the mushroom
got it.
back. But Giuseppe, in honor of how great an idea this is, what stat would you like to use for this check?
the penguins of
I would like to use body.
Fantastic, and body it shall be. The boat is
Madagascar level of agility. here.
Yes. Yep. That's exactly it. So you know in RPGs, like if you ever read an RPG book and like these are the touchstones, this is what inspired us. Ours was like slapstick comedy. The Penguins of Madagascar.
Yeah.
Adventure time.
Oh, man.
We're like this is what.
Awesome.
And so yes, so the boat is crumbling around you. Graham cracker masts are falling all over the place. It's like, have you ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean and Beckett is walking down as the ship is exploding
Yeah.
all around him in slow motion? I would like to point out nothing else is in slow motion, just you, Giuseppe, for this movie. But yes, describe. So let's do body, and your body stat is what again?
4.
4. Fantastic. I will let you decide if you would like to do higher or lower.
Lower, please.
Lower. All right, you got it.
I suppose it's kind of right on the cusp.
It's just above.
Oh, that is a 1.
That is a 1. That is a success. Please describe to us how you use the very things once holding your life-giving craft together.
Yeah.
To bind up your enemy.
There's a brief moment, because we're talking kind of slow motion, where I'm just that where Steve and Portoberto are full speed at making these incredible attacks, severing tentacles, and I'm in the background, like slightly out of focus, like DJ's background, just full on planning. And then again with the thought bubble, but a light bulb shows
It's an actual
up.
light bulb. It is an actual light bulb. Yep.
I grab the light bulb, break it on the side of the raft like a champagne bottle, use it to cut the
Like a shiv.
to cut the licorice, and then unfurl it, and like a lasso will, like, you know, moving tentacles all coming out through the surface of the water, will wrap it around a bunch of tentacles and kind of cinch them off.
Yes, that works exactly as intended. However, now it is the Kelp Kraken's turn.
All right, boys, brace yourselves.
Well, and it's going to be hard to brace yourselves because Portoberto is overboard. The boat is going down very quickly. And so this is what's going to happen. So monsters in this game, again, are an opportunity for challenges, right? In our case, it's an opportunity for body challenges for all of you. Because it's going to try to, with its remaining tentacles, or the ones that it is able to slip free from the Giuseppe lassoing, which is much less than normal, it's going to require a body check from you guys. However, I am going to allow that it is higher or lower based on your how much more, or how better able you are to succeed on this task. Usually I would say it's whichever one is worse, but Giuseppe has managed to actually bind up most of the tentacles. And so
It's kind of like an advantage.
yes, a little bit
there.
like an
Yeah.
advantage or a disadvantage mechanic, right?
Yeah,
It's gonna
cool.
be
I like
gonna
that.
be lower.
It's going to be lower.
I gotta go higher than a 2.
I'm gonna go lower.
6, baby.
It's higher than a 2.
I
Two.
I failed. I had to roll above. I had to roll below a 5, and I got a 6.
So if any of you have failed, I'm going to rule that you would take 2 body damage. This does not impact your rolls for body, by the way. This just means that this is your hit points. So
Oh, okay.
yep. So you've taken. So again, body is your hit points.
Ow.
Yep. You're going to take 2. And the Kelp Creakin's turn is finished, which means we go back to Portoberto. Constricted but not beaten.
Who's volunteering to die?
Whatever you need, boss.
He like salutes with his little cherry stem. He just kind of.
I'm assuming you are spending some forgetfulness points to add these cherry
Yes,
bombs.
I am.
Fantastic. I'm going to say that this does make sense within our game world. So I will have you spend 2 forgetfulness points for that.
Fantastic.
For the sentient cherry bombs that worship you, I guess, and want to die in your service.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna say that's a squawk roll
I'm absolutely okay with that.
to convince them.
Look at me. I am the captain now.
It could go either way. I have a 3, right? So what is that? High or low?
Whatever you'd prefer at this point. The idea of the sentient cherry bombs
higher.
is so good, dude.
All right, let's go lower because last time I said lower
Fantastic.
and I failed,
Ooh,
and
risky,
therefore if I
baby.
go lower this time, I got a 1.
That is lower.
Oh, smart boy.
That is
lowest.
lower. Please describe
Statistics.
the cherry bomb's final moments. As it somehow torpedoes through the water.
And you just see as Berto twists up the stem, and it becomes a little propeller, and that's it.
And then
Heads right
it
towards
cuts
the
to
face.
slow mo. Cuts to slow mo. Yeah.
Yeah,
Face shaking.
and then, like a quick flashback of being like, "Honey, I'm gonna be home later tonight. Don't worry about me."
We need
no.
more fans
Sorry, that was
because
sad.
this would be like if
sad.
we had more fans, somebody who could animate this.
Oh my.
This is the clip.
No. I will send this to our artist. Reggie will animate this.
Yes.
She
Oh my
will.
God,
Don't
I
she
need it.
dead ass will. I know she will. She's gonna watch this clip and be like, "This is the greatest thing." Whenever this is done, I need y'all to send this to me. I'm gonna clip this and use this for the Kickstarter. For the Kickstarter. I'm just picturing the
Oh my
Guts theme song from Berserk 2 playing. Absolutely. Just-
Yeah, my cheeks are.
Open a window.
Oh, just absolutely decks the living daylights out of the Kelp Kraken. Yeah, it works. It goes through. I 10 out of 10. No notes.
As I'm floating, like on the raft as it's still sinking, I just kind of salute our fallen soldier. It was lovely knowing you, Cherry Bomb.
He
Blah, 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 blah.
is gone now.
But not forgotten.
All right.
But not forgotten.
D.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Not yet forgotten.
Giuseppe's
Excuse me.
character just slays me. Giuseppe's because every time Giuseppe's like, "What? What are we doing?"
What are we forgetting? Oh,
Just racking forgetfulness points.
Yeah,
I mean, take
gone,
another
but
one.
not
It doesn't
forgotten.
take another
I'm
one.
trying to hit 5
No,
so
take
that I
another
can-
one, Giuseppe. You're getting another one.
Hey, there we go.
Oh my god, that is so
I'm gonna
funny.
burn them all in one moment.
Dude, just do it. You can That's not how it happened. Do it. Run it back.
Yes, please.
Listen,
I'm just waiting for the right.
that is the
Rock,
that is
something's gonna
how
come
that's
up.
how I wanted this game. Like this how this is playing is how the game is supposed to play.
Good.
Yeah, if your
Good,
if
good,
your
good.
if your game of Mushuins is not a slapstick Looney Tunes esque like
Yeah.
slugfest,
Oh my gosh.
it is the wrong game. Like you're in the wrong place. Oh, that's what I do.
All
Every
right,
time I design
so,
a serious game, I have to design a goofy one afterwards to balance it out. It's like I can't.
All right, fellas. I think we might need to sporadically pace ourselves to search out through the woods here for what we're looking for.
Oh,
What are we looking for again, bud?
We're looking for some.
Turgid.
I'm forgetting. Oh no.
oh, I'm sorry. The kelp kraken is not dead, by the way. It is still very much.
no,
It is still very much. No, it's.
We've forgotten about
we've
the
forgotten
Kraken.
about the
Move on.
You forgot, remember?
How dare you? Let's be very clear. First off, but what?
Yeah. So you are. By
Well,
the
I
way,
guess
you
then
are
it's
in the
my
water.
turn.
There are explosions happening. You're pretty sure you watched a sentient cherry bomb whisper that it was 1 week away from retirement. Oh.
Okay, so then I guess it's my turn. So as I'm clearly confused about the entire situation, I think I would just kind of go over on the log that I'm currently on that's still here.
Yes.
I guess it's like a pretzel or something. Kind of make my way over and I just kind of look down into the water for where Porto Berto might be and see if I can get him up and out.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna say that magic or body. Your choice.
On that's
Stealer's
still
choice.
here. I guess more so just like trying to like sense him.
Like Professor X.
My magic is a 6.
X-Wing.
You got heavier since the last time we met. It's all the kelp kraken you're eating. Turgid. DJ, am I the turgid one with a question mark at the title of your autobiography? That's fantastic. Yeah, it's gonna be just lower. I think that's just
Okay.
totally. That's just so fair at this point.
I got a 1.
Yeah, that's low. That's low. That's lower. You sense
Wonderful.
exactly where Porto Berto is
I've
at,
got you, brother.
and you could lift him back up.
I just kind of start to swirl my fin in the water and like kind of reverse whirlpool him up towards the top as much as I can.
As he's coming up, you just hear him singing, "It's me. Hi, I'm the turgid one. It's me."
Just have long blonde hair. I'm in my Mushuin era.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. My turgid era. That's more accurate.
Absolutely. The older I get,
When you come back home from the Chinese buffet, I was in my turgid era.
absolutely.
Oh my god. Yes, you were absolutely able to lift him out of the water into safety. I guess he's just floating like above your hand.
I got you.
Still,
So like when you hold a small dog over water, and it's just like
I feel like I've got him, but like gyroscopically, I can't lock him in. He just keeps like rolling like end over like.
oh my god, it's like one of those like skydiving places where it's like the big turbine.
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
room.
Like
Yeah,
you just keep flipping end over
yeah.
end.
Yep. All right, and on that note, Giuseppe,
okay.
this poor kelp kraken is just having the worst day of its life.
I hope it's confused.
Which is
perplexed.
what I think I'm gonna capitalize on, because I'm hoping to. I know I said I was gonna use all 5 for a rewrite, but I might burn 2 to add something in if makes sense.
Oh, I'm ready.
So the raft is sinking,
Yes,
correct? Okay.
absolutely.
I would like to take out of my pockets a violin. One more song. And start playing a song in the hopes that I can convince through song. I'm sure Portoberto can sing some beautiful lyrics alongside this, but in the hopes that the Kraken will give up its endeavor of attacking us.
In the
carry on.
arms of a mushwind.
I'm gonna say Squawk or Magic. Giuseppe, your choice.
Okay, Squawk. Also, is that 2 points or is it 4 points?
I'm gonna
of
say it's 2
forgetfulness?
points. That's priceless. This is exactly something a Mushwind should do. 2 points for sure.
I mean, yeah, like that's totally a thing from
Yeah.
the Penguins of Madagascar. Like, why does he have a violin? He had a violin.
Yeah, absolutely. He had it. This was my only not my only complaint, but my biggest complaint with one of my favorite systems, which was Blades in the Dark, was the system of flashback, where it's like flashback.
Yep.
I did this. I'm like, no, I don't want limits on the flashback. No.
Right.
No. If I got points, let me spend them. Come on. Let me cook. Let me cook.
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna go Squawk. Is it above or below?
What is your Squawk score?
A 4.
I'm gonna say above.
Above. Okay.
I'm gonna say above. What an experience.
Trixie.
That's a 6.
That's a 6.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
For a second, TJ said, "Oh baby," I was like, "Oh baby, you got what I need."
You got what I need. You say he's
replacement
just a
All right, what song, Giuseppe, are you playing and getting, I guess, Portoberto to sing with you?
I think oh gosh. Now all I'm thinking of is like late 90s, early 2000s hip hop songs.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of that song, "Move, bitch, get out the way."
Get out the way,
Move, Kel.
Boom.
But I'm playing violin, so
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
originally I was going for Titanic.
No,
but
it's
this is better.
It's better.
This is definitely better. So yeah, I'm using the violin. I'm hitting it at odd angles and doing that thing that certain guitar players do, where they like do like percussion.
yeah.
With
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and somehow
The
I'm doing that with a
slaps.
violin.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Why wouldn't you? That makes sense.
I mean, a penguin
Yeah.
could easily, right?
Yeah, I'm a Mushwind easily, absolutely.
With this dexterity,
He act like, I feel like
What's this
he just has the
dexterity?
violin tuned to just one chord, and then just like,
I cannot. With this dexterity, the one flipper.
Absolutely. Berto turns and looks at the imaginary camera and goes, "For just the price of a small cup of coffee a day on the One Shots Tavern Patreon, you too can put a mushwin through violin lessons."
You joke, but I did try to make the PDF cheaper than coffee at Starbucks, like on purpose.
Amazing.
Oh
my
my
face is just absolutely on fire.
At this point, I'm not sure what the Kelp Kraken is thinking at this juncture, but it is thinking it does not want to be here.
sheer confusion.
Sheer confusion, just raw energy, and now it's just like I don't
We're
want.
clearly not to be trifled with.
And it takes its opportunity and it just kind of does this, or it does this because because Mushroom's tentacles are
Yeah.
still bound up by the licorice. I'm just happy.
Quick, grab the tentacles. We can use them to tie our boat back together.
I can't believe that went almost identically to last time. Like that never happens twice, you know.
100% win rate.
100% win rate.
That was good. And it was so weird that we saw a kelp kraken inside the forest.
I know.
No water to
not-
be found of.
What? Oh,
Yeah.
Forget that you're on him.
From my experience,
land
the
delving-
moisture, it might be the sweat glands are kicking in an overdrive or something.
I wish someone of you had 5. Like, yeah, we weren't even in a river this whole time. just on a boat, just like, how'd that kraken even get here? Just casually rewrite the geography of the game world. Why not? Let's do it.
Yep. Totally.
Oh my god. So,
Guys, is this where I believe we've arrived at our goal. We're here in the forest. I've done my best. Our adventure seems to be at a conclusion. Do we set up a house here? What are we doing now?
so if we were gonna play this further, you guys would bring it back. We'd probably have one more
Yeah.
encounter of some kind. My guess is probably either another role play encounter, maybe a puzzle encounter of some kind. And then that would be our session. I want to give you some time to ask questions about the game, and we can talk about the
Yeah,
Kickstarter
yeah,
a little
for
bit.
sure.
absolutely.
But thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank
was awesome.
Thank you 3. If you don't think I'm putting 8 Tickles, the Kelp Kraken, as one of the named monsters in the book as an homage to you all, you're
That's
you're
awesome.
out of your minds. I'm
here for
1,000%
it.
doing that. I wrote that down. I'm like 8 Tickles. I'm like, that's fantastic.
I can't.
Well, I can't wait because I have back.
I know, I saw it, I was
for-
like-
for the physical. So
This was y'all are exactly who I would like to play this game with, and who I designed this game for.
For children.
oh,
I am also a giant child.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's exactly why.
children with enough pop cultural references to really just sprinkle it in there.
I mean, here's the thing. Having played Mushuins with kids, it's less pop culture reference and more just absolutely unhinged creativity, and that's exactly what I like.
yes.
Oh my! Like one kid's
Yeah.
like, "Well, that's not how it happened at all. We were on airships, and at no point were airships involved. But now we have airships, and it's like, wait,
Yeah.
what? It's like a Snoopy Red Baron, but like it's a Mushwin.
That's not what happened at all. I'm actually the king of the Mushwins.
Actually,
that
that's
so
not what
much.
happened at all. Mushwins aren't even real.
What?
What?
are we?
Camera pulls out
Existential
just 4 guys sitting around a table.
It just became the most meta game ever.
One Mushwin succeeds on the magic check, and they're like, "I'm not even real."
I'm a
You just hear
figment.
like off camera. Cut.
Cut.
Great take, guys.
The Mushwin's method acting again. Get him out of here.
Very
so
good.
fun.
So, now that you guys have reached your initial goal,
Yes.
right? What are you thinking as far as stretch goals go? Because we're only about, I think,
We have 18 days left.
less than halfway.
Yeah, we have 18.
Yeah, you got
So,
some time.
Yeah, we have 18 days left in the campaign, which is
Well, here's a quick question. I want to get in stretch goals. Sorry to cut you off, DJ, but I'm changing the question. So really quick, how many? You've done a handful of books here, right?
Yep.
This is your fifth.
this
fourth,
is the so this is the 6th technically, but this is our 4th Kickstarter.
Okay, that's where I was going with
Yep.
that. So you've done 4 Kickstarters. So obviously we just did our first ones, but like
Congrats
you know,
again, by
like
the way.
that
Congrats
beginning
again.
wave. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, and like the first wave, and then like that last 3 days there, everything just like goes
Yeah.
crazy. Kickstarter boosts stuff out. For you guys, like, what has that been like for funding? Like, has it been dramatic? Has it been most of your stuff? Have you been doing marketing elsewhere?
It depends on the project. So,
Yeah.
the Kickstarter wisdom is always first week and last week are always your big ones.
Yeah.
Always, always, always. And then DJ, really quick to talk about yours. We have 5 stretch goals. So we actually hit one of our stretch goals, which I need to make a post for today. But at $600, everyone's getting a free Mushwin sticker of one of the enemies in
cute.
the book that gets included. So at 800,
Yeah.
we're doing a live stream. Reggie, who is our artist, and I are both going to be coming on and drawing live stream Mushwins. So you get to see what a
Nice.
great artist works like and which one of them doesn't. Then at $1,000, we're including 4 full color removable character cards. So like it'll be like a little
nice.
mushwin, a little name thing, and like things for the stats and the forgetfulness points, and you'll have to just cut that out of the book. And then at 1,200, it's an additional full color illustration because I need to make sure that my artist is getting compensated for that. And then at 1,600, it's 4 additional characters. So
Awesome.
yep, those are our 5 stretch goals, and we wanted to keep them simple. So, but again, the cool part about first and last week is that like we always know that there's some sort of expectation of first and last week. I will say zines have seemed to be the most first and last week heavy out of the ones that I've done and the ones that I've seen from my friends. Like so like we were very close to funding for Mushuins initially, just off rip, right? And now, so like within the first week, and then last week, I'm sure it'll be probably the same thing. It was the same thing for A Fear Within. We did that one as a part of Zine Month as well, and so that is very much the same thing. But like Lighthouse, which we just funded this past year, or like back in November, was huge first week, huge last week, but the tail of that game was so much bigger. Like the tail end of that backstart, like the I want to say the last like 3 or 4 weeks of that campaign, like pretty solid backings, pretty solid contributions to the campaign were coming in like each day. It was really weird. I hadn't seen that before.
Yeah.
And After the Rain was kind of the same way. So I don't know if it's just a like carryover of it's an actual bound book, or if versus like a heavy cardstock zine or a full color cardstock zine. I'm not sure if that like the medium plays any difference in it, and it might. But go ahead, Justin.
Going off of that, just for DJ and Andrew, I'm sure they don't know. Define zine in this context.
So that's a great question for people who are we're sitting here talking about zines. So Kickstarter every February does something called Zine Quest, and zine here is short for magazine. It is a throwback to basically the old punk zines that people used to make in like the late 80s, early 90s. And there's a sort of spirit of kind of freewheeling creativity that goes into it. It's usually less, I don't want to say less production value because I think that takes away from like the work that people do on zines, but it's a different product. So like, for example, our stuff, I keep like looking around because I thought I had a copy of A Fear Within next to me, but I'm just going to go get one. I'll be right back. It's going to take 2 seconds. Yeah.
I had a hunch it was short for magazine, but I was like,
I had friends that are like, "What's a zine?" And I'm like, "1 second."
So A Fear Within, for example, it's heavy cardstock, as opposed to like being an actual bound book. So again, a lot of these are sort of a lot of these are sort of this I don't want to say DIY feel, but there's this very community-driven feel to the idea of Zine Month, and that's really what it is. It's for people who want to make small batch. Usually they're weird, they're off the wall. It's either niche in terms of theme or in terms of rule set, or it's trying something different. It's really done just to sort of encourage a high level of creativity. And again, you have zines that look like ours. You have zines that are like pamphlets. A friend of ours does a game where like you are a sentient stick of butter. It's a solo RPG where you're a stick of butter in the kitchen, and that looks like a travel brochure. It's like a front and back travel brochure. That's their zine. So again, it's to evoke this sort of folk magazine environment that unfortunately is no longer really, as prevalent now in the culture or the zeitgeist as it used to be. But it's that essentially. It's a bunch of creators coming together to make small, weird, overly creative, experimental stuff, and Kickstarter kind of signal boosts it every February for Zine Month. And so that's what a zine is. It's short for magazine in this case. Long answer to a short question.
And it's like it's the lower barrier of entry, I think, that is so attractive for so many people, because you can also just like go to like, I've been to like a farmer's market before where like a local artist has just taken their art, like their paintings or whatever, done a little extra maybe design and layout, and then they've printed off a zine, and it's just like, hey, here's a bookified version of my art or expression. And then they also can be really political too, like where they're more activist driven. It's kind of like that, or like you mentioned, like the punk scene early on, and really driving the kind of like, this doesn't need to be complicated for me to publish my ideas, and then that being the heart behind it. And then like that kind of just grew in the TTRPG community a lot, and I don't know when Zine Quest started. Do you know?
I'm not sure
how
off
long
rip,
ago?
but I will say the Venn diagram of like former punks and RPG designers is almost a circle. Like it
Yep.
but yeah, the lower price point too is something that's like hugely attractive. Like our PDF for Mushuins, like if you just want the digital copy, is $6 during the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It is not going to be $6 at post Kickstarter, but it's $6.
Yeah, I mean,
it's gonna be
that's
$6.
common during Zine Quest, right?
Yep.
So like it's we've done a couple episodes on it because we both DJ and I both participated in it, but it's like you would go through all these amazing, crazy, weird ideas on the Kickstarter page, and I backed like 10 of them, right? And each one I'm like backing a digital copy for a lot of them, printed for others. It's like $5 to $15 that I'm sinking into any one of these cool projects, and I'm getting, the whole result. It's just such a, I'm fascinated by it, super excited about it, and like really want to keep doing it every year just as like a creative endeavor to like get something out of myself. We were talking with Justin before, like about some of the stuff you've done on like DM's Guild and whatnot. I think that like you're probably like primed. You might even have something that's ready to zenify,
Probably, I could definitely 1,000,000% put stuff together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing I like about it too, Justin. Just to encourage you to go do your own stuff, because like that's like the cool part about this is I get to be like, yo, if you got cool ideas, just
do it,
send them my way, or tell me when. I'll help. I can help in any way I can. But that's like the community aspect of it is huge, right? Like it's all, a lot of us are just like, I mean, I started Desks and Dorks because I got tired of people in the industry being like, hey, like we'd love to hire you, you're awesome, but we're not gonna hire you. I'm like, well, all right, I'll just do my own thing then. Right. And so but I'm not alone in that. And there are a lot of people who I've met that are like in positions of like, not power, but in positions of creative authority,
influence,
and want to help foster a sense of community. And that's been the best part. And Zine Month is kind of that sentiment coalesced, where it's like, oh yeah, like we're all just doing I know established designers who are like just flexing their muscles, doing the weirdest crap they can possibly think of for Zine Quest. And it's a good way to like get people out there and encourage people to make something. Because the barrier of entry, if you just do like, oh, I'm just going to do a digital tier, right, for my game, you don't have to, right? You don't have to do a physical tier. You don't have to print it. You can just make it a zine that's digital only. And like, a friend of ours by the name of Graham Gens did his game, which was Under the Autumn Strangely, and they did, and I was like, oh, he didn't pay he paid for the cover art. That was it. Everything else is public domain in that book. It's all free use public domain. Aspiring game designers listening to this, the Library of Congress has their entire digital archive, and you can search by copyright free. That's what I did for some of my games. We had a game that was all about propaganda, and guess who borrowed early propaganda posters from the Spanish-American War? This dude.
Right. That's amazing.
You could come up with a whole zine idea just
on free use.
Looking at free use stuff. That's awesome.
We should do that. We should all do that. We should do free use public zine. But like that's the thing. Or like another friend of ours did his solo RPG, which was I think the 13th Beast is the name of it. It's Extant Press, but it's a solo monster hunting RPG, and it's all stuff. I'm like, so full disclosure, I'm Catholic. And I was like, oh, you borrowed all this stuff from the Malleus Maleficarum, which is a witch hunting manual from the 1400s. I was like, and it's all public use. I'm like, all this art is from the Malleus Maleficarum. I know it is because I have a history degree and I've looked at the transcripts. I was like, again, it looks like an authentic witch hunting, monster hunting RPG because just borrowed the public use stuff. Like guys, like there's no excuse to the listeners. There's no excuse if you want to make a game to not make a game.
Yeah,
like just do it.
The ones that you can come up with, we can debunk them quickly.
For sure.
Yeah, Justin, go for it.
So this question, I guess, is for all three of you, actually.
Yeah.
If I could just steal the spotlight for a moment. At what point in your process, and maybe like even just inner monologue of like debating, at what point of your creative process were you at when you were like, now let's do the Kickstarter? Like, were you like 50% done with your product and then put it on the Kickstarter? Like, you know, I'm just like curious about.
I think it's different for all of us.
Yeah.
So for me, with Pink Security, my wife and I wrote a graphic novel after I got fired last year. And so like we just sat down and like we wrote it, and then we're like, yeah, we don't really have 16 grand to like have it drawn, but like we got a nice manuscript. And so like I then started to like put that together because I was like running like a game. And so I started putting it together in a format that works for like lore in a TTRPG book, right? And what I did next was I just I was like, oh, well, let's gamify it now, right? So I was personally about, I would say, at the 50-60% mark done, whereas Andrew,
But you kind of
where were you at?
cannibalized, not cannibalized.
Yeah.
But you kind of like
Yeah,
you
exactly.
had other work that was ready to go. You know.
This is why Obsidian
so-
files are great.
Yeah, right. If you've never played with Obsidian, it's one of my favorite note-taking tools ever. It's incredible. But for me, I was much more on the side of like, I had so many just like gripes, I don't know, with a lot of games that I had played, and I was like, I just want to make this better. And like, if you've heard me talk about, and our listeners definitely have heard me talk about teamwork, like that's what I wanted to build around. I'm like, I want to make games that like feel like the whole point is that you are working together. Yeah, like you can have that in games. We worked well together today, right? But like it was, I want to build around a mechanic that is directly a part of the gameplay experience that makes
Right.
you feel like you're really working together. And I'd been sitting on that for a while, but I hadn't put anything on paper, and I really wanted to do not to retell my whole massive story, because you know how that goes. But yeah, I had an idea, but I didn't have the, I don't know, the marketing idea to pair it with yet. And my wife was like, hey, you love Ender's Game, I love Ender's Game, what about Ender's Game? And I'm like, you have no idea how good of an idea that was. Yes, I'm doing that, right? And
Yeah.
so it locked in, and so I launched with some art and a lot of really strong ideas of how the rules could work, as well as I had ran a similar like subsystem rule set that I made for Cypher. And so I had ran a version of how I wanted it to feel in a different system. And then
Yeah. Amazing.
So
Kyle, your turn.
It's different for every project.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do the one thing that I always encourage anyone to do, which is to give actionable advice. Because I hated going to like creative conversations, and being like, all we've talked about is theory. Not that you guys have talked about that. You guys have been awesome, by the way. Like this has been like one of the most podcast fun I've had. Yeah, trash, absolute trash. It's gonna be huge. I'm sorry, I can't. But their advice is fantastic. I will say, for me, I know something is good. I've been very lucky, and I've been very conscious about surrounding myself with people who I know will tell me the truth. Which is why I don't tell people it's my game usually, if I can avoid it. But the people that I play it with are the people who I know will tell me, Kyle, this is shit, if it's really bad. And at that point, I will either attempt to make changes, or it goes to something called the Shadow Realm folder, which is where all of my failed game concepts go. And I could go to them if I want like extra stuff, but I don't waste a second more on it than I can. So my first advice would be to play the game in some way, shape, or form, and see what the initial reaction of players is before we do anything, right? That's my first step always. But to give you, I guess, some like when I started, so like after the rain, I wrote in a week, which feels like a fever dream. Like just shaking his head. Yeah, I wrote it in a week. I don't know what happened. But like I want to say 95% of the game was done in that initial 7-day period, and which was bizarre. And some stuff got changed and polished, but it was basically 95% done before it even got on Kickstarter. It's 100% done before it got on Kickstarter. I haven't done that since. Like Fear Within was probably, I want to say 60-80% done. Lighthouse was about 60-80% done. Mushuins was about 50-40% done when we were like, we should launch this on Kickstarter. We need to start laying the groundwork. But I think the best actionable advice to do is to again, not that Andrew and DJ's advice wasn't awesome, because it was. I'm so sorry. I realized as soon as I said that, I was like, I sound like
No,
such
it's fine. We're
sound
making
like
fun of you.
such a dick.
You're good.
But like the best advice I can give is play it
Yeah.
first, because the last thing you want to do is spend all this time on rules, on whatever, and
On art.
on art. Oh god, don't. The art's the last thing you spend money on, always.
Yeah.
Like straight up.
Yeah.
And GJ's like, I'd spend on art first.
That's all I spent money on, all of it.
Yeah, I mean that's okay too. But like, I just like, but I didn't. We weren't gonna spend anything on art assets for a game if I gonna be bad, right? Like
If it sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
fair.
And like I think to that point, right? Like so I think for me I had ran like that idea, you know? And so like I tried the way that I wanted the mechanics to feel in another system.
Mhm.
Right? And I was like, but I know this works because it felt good and people responded well to it. So I know I've got at least an idea. And then I play tested it pretty quickly after that. And I was like, yep, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna figure this out. And then playtesting has been my favorite thing I've ever done as a dungeon master or game master in anything. Like
For sure.
getting feedback. We had another recent episode an episode that's not yet out, but will have been out when this one comes out. They were giving advice because we played in a playtest for their game, and they said playtesters are amazing at figuring out what's wrong, and they're terrible at the solution, right? So like listen to what's wrong when they say it, when they point it out. Don't always listen to the idea because they you can, of course, feedback is amazing, but the idea is like people feeling out your game will get a sense of your core design ethos pretty quickly if it's a good idea. And if they don't, you'll know.
Yeah.
We do a whole video series on this.
Wow.
Actually, I did. So if you go to the Desks and Dorks YouTube channel, selfish plug here, but like I did
Please.
a whole video series on like if you want to make your own RPG, because there were so many things that I had to learn or like learn from other people that I was like, I would just like this all in one place for somebody. So I'll tell you the 3 things that are the most helpful. If you can get your whole system or as much of your system onto the front and back of an index card, that is the first thing I will tell everybody, because what that does, and don't give yourself more than one index card. Don't give yourself more than a sheet of paper. I'm serious, because it will force you to boil down what is really important to you and into that system.
Right.
Because
That makes a lot of sense.
It's one of my favorite ways to do it. There's a guy I met actually at the last Save Against Fear who's doing not horror, but like a nostalgia horror RPG about being in the car with your parents late at night. And he wanted to evoke all this sort of feeling. And he's like, I can't write it. I'm like, just put as much as you can on the index card. And he came to me the next day. He's like, oh my God, I got it. I'm like, I know.
Makes a lot of
It's
sense.
like, because it forces you to coalesce everything that you need into those basic systems. And your brain literally will organize from importance, whether it knows it's doing it or not, when you're out of real estate, which is why I love the index card. That's like my first thing. I record all my playtests, and I'm not there for them. So full disclosure, I've played some of my RPGs less than some of my playtesters have played them. And I'm not present for those playtests. I record audio of those playtests.
Wow.
What Andrew
Yeah.
is saying about like your playtesters are really are really good at finding out the solution or finding out what's wrong, but bad at the solutions. You get so much from the nonverbals of people who would act or phrase or couch things in a different way if you were present than you would if not. And I think I've gotten as much, if not more, from the nonverbal or like the tonal cues of my playtesters than I have from their actual illicit feedback.
Yeah.
And those are the 2 things that I would encourage if you're gonna try to game. And then if you're like really like lost in the sauce, I always tell people, I'm like, just do like one combat encounter, do one story encounter, do one thing, right? Like a friend of mine was like, yeah, exactly. Like I had a friend who was like, he's like, it's like a 400-page thing, and I'm like, dude, like, and he hasn't tested a combat encounter yet. I'm like, dude, you don't know if any of this works. Like test a single encounter, like just the small building blocks first. This is the stuff I love. This is like the nitty-gritty stuff that I had to learn the hard way over like years. Like, and I wish someone had just been like, do these things.
And like I think that
That's awesome.
again, I'm on my first foray into all this, but like I think the things that have worked well for me is when I put a really hard line creative constraint on certain things, right? So like the idea of the index card. for me, like, because I am doing the art for my own book, I was like, I'm doing black and white, no color. I'm not messing with color, right? Because like that made me think in terms of a more limited concept, not just because it was less work, but it also pushed me to think more creatively with only black and white.
Yeah.
And then similarly, like with the system, as I was working through it, I'm like, I'm not doing crazy stats. I don't care about that. We're doing one mental stat and one physical stat. That's it. Right. Like, and I was like, it doesn't need nuance, right? Those are the main buckets that we understand and are familiar with in so many other games. Great. That's it. And so like those level of like really, really narrow creative constraints actually bred infinite more creativity than if I had full color and, you know, a bunch of more stats and all this other stuff for my early decisions. Like it would, I don't know if I'd ever get anything done.
Can I tell you guys a fun story about limitations being essential?
No,
so
you cannot.
All right, I'm like,
sorry, it's a limitation that I'm putting on this podcast.
It's because I said your advice was trash earlier. So DJ, you've got a copy of After the Rain with you. If you look at the spine of After the Rain, it doesn't have the name of the game on it.
Does not.
But it has that cool binding, which all of our books now have a binding like that. I joke that we're like the golden books of RPGs.
Oh, that's awesome!
Because that way you know it's a Desks and Dorks title when you see that weird looking striated spine. It was not intentional at first. The publishing company that we went with couldn't put the name of the book on the spine because the page count was too small. And so we were like, if you can't put so now you're all starting to hear the problem of like, if you can't put the name on the spine, then how are people going to know what game it is? And so what we did was we played around with spine designs, and I took it and I brought it to the RPG section of my LGS, and I would stick it in places and see what popped. And so if you look at all of the 5th edition rule books for D&D, it's the same really black, red, kind of boring, very staid. And so bright teal, if it sticks out in the middle, you don't even know what it is. You'll grab it from the shelf because your eye was drawn to the color. That was a limitation that has served us beautifully and is now like a cornerstone of like, quote unquote, the Desks and Dorks style of
that's awesome.
RPG. So there's some inside baseball there.
This has been so fun, guys. My gosh, I thoroughly enjoyed having both Kyle and Justin on today. You guys were wonderful. Thank you for running this game. Justin, thank you for being a hilarious new co-player.
Giuseppe.
That was insane. Listeners, thank you. Thank you so much for putting up with our wild BS and listening along. If you guys want to support the podcast, the best ways that you can do that is you can check out our merch. You can check out our Patreon if you want full access to like our full playthroughs. You can follow us on social media. Go follow us on TikTok, but also maybe please follow us other places too, because you know things are weird right now. And also I'd like to roll out the red carpet to our guests here. How can people follow and support you? I'll start over with Justin.
So I'm Justin. You can find us on it's mainly TikTok and Instagram, so fingers crossed. But that's at So You Want to Be a DM, and then we have our podcast of which I'm the co-host of So You Want to Be a Dungeon Master. And you can find us on both of those things. And then we're working on the Patreon, YouTube, Twitch, and all the other fun things eventually working into the fold. We just opened our Discord to the public, so
awesome.
Baby steps.
Heck yeah. Yeah, please go check out Justin's content. They have some phenomenal stuff on TikTok, great advice, and honestly, I was talking to DJ about this. Some of the best vibes. I wish you all the success. You have such a welcoming way of words and vibe, and the community you're already building. I'm excited to be around that. So thank you for being here today.
If your vibe is anything like playing with you, it's immaculate.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah,
adds to his bio or to their bio. Giuseppe vibes.
Immaculate vibes. I love it.
Appreciate that.
And Kyle.
So you can find all of Desk and Dork stuff. We are on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I'm kind of on Threads, not really. But we're on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook mainly. You can also, if you're interested in picking up any of the games we talked about, You can get digital.
Yes.
You can get digital copies of our games over at our itch.io page, or if you want a physical copy, you can get it from any of our distributors. But I would encourage you to go and get it from either Indie Press Revolution, Exalted Funeral, or World of Game Design. If any of those things interest you, we're also still on Kickstarter at the time of this recording. There are 18 days left in the March of the Mushuins Kickstarter. So if you liked what you saw here and you would like to take part in the chaos or face 8 tentacles, who is definitely going to become an NPC in this book now, like for sure, then you can go ahead and you can back us on Kickstarter. We tried really hard to make that one as affordable as possible in the spirit of Zine Month. So like you can get a PDF for $6.
Oh my goodness, that was a blast. Thank you guys so much for watching. This one was a little bit different. We decided to give you the gameplay and everything in its entirety because it was a little bit of a shorter session. But also, we're really excited about this project and we want to help Kyle get this out there. So if you're interested, please check out the link in our bio, in the show description, all that stuff to check out March of the Mushuins. Right now, funding on Kickstarter. Also, thank you very much. Leave a review. If you could leave a like, if you could subscribe if you're over on YouTube, it means the world to us. This episode was an absolute blast to bring to you guys. Thanks for watching.